Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 466. Back in studio this week, Johnny V.
Yeah, you're here for like
Lucky me.
a day or two,
Yes.
and then you're off to Idlewild, the great state of Kentucky, almost Ohio.
Yeah, in fact,
like-
I will dip into Ohio back and forth depending on the route to my hotel, I believe. It's pretty close, right there on the border.
Burlington is more or less a suburb of Cincinnati, correct?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
So, I think it might take me less time to get to the airport than it would to get to the course.
Yes.
Now, I will be driving down there, but it would take me less time to get over to the airport than the course. So, first of all, welcome in, everyone. Yes, we are starting an hour early than normal. It's a pretty rare occasion, but every once in a while, sometimes on Tuesday nights, we'll get going a little bit early.
Are we going to go just as late?
That's what they're all asking and wanting to know is, will it go just as late? So what we're going to have tonight is a great show, 466 that is, and part of the reason that we're a little bit earlier is to help accommodate one of our East Coast.
Well, they're all East Coast right now.
Well, I know, but I was going to say our guest who is in the East Coast and or on the Eastern time zone. He's not in the East Coast. He's in the Eastern time zone. And
that's one heck of a coast. If you're counting Kentucky as the East Coast,
you're talking, Cincinnati, Cincinnati,
yeah,
Burlington, Idlewild area. Yeah, that's definitely a coast.
yeah,
A coast of something.
Oh.
I don't know what it is. Anyway, we're gonna have Cole Redalen joining us in just a few moments. We're gonna recap what we saw and heard at the 2023 Ledgestone Open. And from there, who knows where things will go. Then we'll get into an after show and everything else that's silly from there. So without any further ado, I guess we'll get right to it. The man of the hour, the man of the week, and your freshest winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, none other than Cole Redalen. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here. Definitely been on a lot of other shows by now for sure, and still got a couple more to go, but I'm loving it, and I just appreciate every single one. So, yeah.
I mean, at this point, it feels like the winner does an entire tour of podcasts. I saw you on Stokely's podcast. I think you're on Nick and Matt. Our podcast, of course, the most important one. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Tour Life with Yuli, and then there's also probably Alta World, and like there's just and maybe more that I don't even know of. So that's a lot of time to spend after a win like this. And does it cut into your practice time at all? All these interviews that you have to do, or are you able to schedule them after hours?
I actually did an interview after my round on Sunday at 8:30 that night with a crew that came into my RV with all their stuff, and we did a podcast right here and there. But honestly, no, it doesn't really cut into my practice time. I've still done everything I've wanted to do for the Monday and Tuesday that I've had here in Kentucky. And woke up slow Monday and just got here and then filmed with Stokely last night and Mick and Matt. And then today just went to the course, did grocery shopping, and I've just been chilling all afternoon. So really, it's not that big of a deal. The day is long, so you find things to do to rest. So.
Did you get any extra snacks grocery shopping with that extra big check? You're like, I'm going to go with the double stuff Oreos today instead of the regular ones.
Definitely. I went for some caramel chocolate popcorn. And then I also went with some Ben & Jerry's ice cream that was on sale. So yeah, let's say I'm just treating myself a little bit this week. But hey, not too much. We still got to keep it healthy for the tournament. So maybe that's just because my mom's watching, but yeah.
It's okay to spoil yourself just a little bit.
Yeah, a baller on a budget.
Yeah.
I love it. That some good values instilled there by your mom and your family. I will follow that up though with, is there anything that you do have your eye on as maybe a treat or a splurge? Some people will talk about whether it's a new phone or I don't know, something else that you're like, you know what? Hey, now I'd feel comfortable going out and splurging a few $100s, or maybe it's $1,000. I don't know. Is there anything else that you might splurge on with a little extra pocket change?
Well, definitely this season, something I've realized traveling in the RV is it's a pain in the butt to tear down and drive to the course every single time that you need to practice. And so this off season, I was already planning on it, and this just honestly helps is probably getting some sort of car to tow behind my vehicle or my RV. I have a little car at home, but it's advised that I don't flat tow it. So I'm looking for
Mm.
something that I can flat tow behind my RV. And just say this Ledgestone check is really helping me look at some good options and high quality options. So yeah.
What is a front runner? Like, what do you think about? What are you looking for? I know you just said your car is not necessarily good for that. So educate us, give us what you would need to be looking for or thinking about with some of those restrictions.
Yeah, looking for kind of a smaller car, something like a Mini Cooper. Honestly, sounds super fun to me. Something with a little bit of zip to it, and just a fun, cute looking, fun car. And it's just yeah, easy and small to tow. I mean, I only have a Class C, so it's not that big of an RV. But so yeah, I definitely want to keep things small. For me, like um, just for driving, like I mean, I got used and comfortable to this thing pretty quickly, but a bigger rig just kind of makes me nervous as well. So definitely just looking for something small, not too big. So yeah.
What are some of the things that not only have you learned yourself, but maybe conversations, whether it's at the RV park or at the course or the campground? What are some of the really important things, little nuggets of pro tips or help that you could say to someone after you've had this time on the road in an RV? Because it feels like that's a popular route in which more and more players are going. What have you picked up? What can you pass along?
Definitely. I mean, honestly, it's been amazing from the start. Just how easy it is logistically to like cook for yourself and get groceries for the week, and then you eat in your RV all the time, every meal of the day. Uh, Unless you win, and then you go out to dinner on Sunday night. But um, yeah, I mean, it's you go shopping, you got the refrigerator, you have the stove, you have the little oven, you have the microwave, whatever, and you have the sink and the ability to just store all your things. It's nice to feel settled all the time. You're not you're not taking bags in and out of Airbnbs every single week. You're not loading everything into this small car and then playing Tetris to get it all out and get it back in, So it's like, it's honestly super nice to just feel settled all the time. And then find what things work in the best places. I'm a very like OCD person. I got that from my mom, so like everything has its place. Everything's got to be clean. So that's honestly a good benefit for me if I'm going to be in an RV. But yeah, I mean it's not. I mean it's not as hard as people think. Like dealing with the tanks and the water and the electricity and the sewer and all that. It's really not that big of a deal. It's not that difficult. And yeah, honestly, I mean it's more comfortable too. I mean, a bigger vehicle is going to be a little bit more comfortable to drive and ride in, and I'm like, if this is going to be my lifestyle, then I want to be, I want to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. So,
Has there been a surprise though? Something that has happened and you're like, "Oh man, I didn't see that coming or I never even thought about if I do go through a drive-through, I'm going under certain bridges like, the clearance, like just so many different things that I could think of that could go wrong or that I've heard of. Has there been any major surprises to you?"
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, my parents have owned a trailer and a 40-foot motorhome before I even got this thing. So like, I've already
Mm.
and we were in it as a family for a while together when I was little. So like, I watched them do all the ins and outs and all the things of what it took to have an RV. So I already had a pretty good idea of what it took. But probably the most surprising thing was I got it, and then like the first time we filled the propane tank for the generator, my generator just was not doing good. It just would not start. And that's not a problem if you're connected to electricity, but once you go to the course and you want to turn on your generator for some AC or maybe to use any appliances, it just won't turn on. And so I'm like chomping at the bit to get back to my campground so I can plug in the electricity and get some AC on me. And so that's probably the most annoying thing is having that generator just not working. I've had it checked out 3 times at Cummins. Like it's just terrible. And I'm thinking it's probably a propane regulator problem at this
Mm.
point. But yeah, definitely annoying to deal with that. And then, but yeah, I mean, everything with the upkeep is expected. Yes, definitely watching out for branches. That's always something that's important with the height and bridges. Like, oh, there's the bridges. Okay, 13 feet, we're good to go. I'm 11.8, so we're chilling. Just little things like that that you have to keep in mind. But it's not too bad. You get used to it pretty quickly. So
Well, I think of, Macbeth with his big old rig at one point, I think partially ripped off an awning. I think Big Germ, I'm just going to assume, has, run into something, or at some point, I feel like he had just some kind of a minor dent or damage. And just some of these things that you learn what you're not necessarily used to doing. But like you said, you at least had a little bit of background, with your family.
I do have something I did at Music City Open. That was such a wet tournament, and the parking area for the players was just terrible. It was nasty. And so I tried to make this turn that was a little too sharp, and there was this like little ridge off this gravel road, and I thought I had enough space to clear it, and I ended up driving off of it, and my tires just went down and slid, and then it destroyed the connection of um my exhaust pipe for my generator. And so it just my exhaust pipe from my generator just shoved up into the RV and was just pinched between the ground and the RV. And then, I got everybody's attention automatically just goes to you, and it's really awkward because you're just trying to get out of the course, and it's the end of the tournament. And so then trying to back up, and it's so wet, like I'm not going anywhere. It got to the point where my tires wouldn't even spin; they wouldn't even try to get out. So we had the Pro Tour people come over with their pickup trucks and pull my RV while I was pushing the gas, and we ended up getting unstuck. But we'll just say my generator exhaust pipe was not very happy for a little while after that. So
Okay. So,
I mean, it's nice to be able to understand that you're touring with, a couple dozen other people in the area that have probably gone through something very similar, or they all know everybody's going to have an RV issue here or there, and they're here to help. Like the Pro Tour guys, oh, we got the pickup truck, we've done this before. We helped so and so. As Terry was saying, everybody's had issues with their travel vehicles at some point, so it's got to be at least a little bit.
Yeah, there's a community
comforting
out there, right? There's a community of people willing to help. So speaking of community and traveling, last question before we get to the nuts and bolts of this weekend is, just explain how you've arrived at the touring. I don't want to say the touring lifestyle that you have, but a lot of times we'll see a couple of guys go on tour. We've seen a lot of different setups. AB and Adam Hammis, for instance, I think we're rolling around in like a Toyota Corolla for a while or something now. But I mean, everybody has like a different setup, and some people very solo. Some people, almost of this, caravan or carpooling type situation. What went through your process, or how'd you arrive at your process to do what you're doing? And are people, begging to jump in with you and become roommates?
On the roommate part first, I did house Gannon Burr for Masters Cup OTB Open in the RV, actually. And at OTB Open, we stayed in the parking lot of the golf course, and that was nice when my generator actually worked that week. That was
Yep.
that was awesome. So we got to use that. Um, and it is my space, so I do, charge them rent if you want to say, but it's like it's definitely doable. I mean, compared to their $800,000 hotel for the week, what, $200 to stay with me for the week, and they have, appliances or whatever, they like bathroom and all that stuff. Like, sure, like yeah, and honestly, it helps me too, and it helps them. It's cheaper for them, and hey, I get something off the week too. So and I have an extra bed. It's the loft right above the chassis where I'm driving. So I did house Gannon for a little bit, and haven't housed anybody else yet. But yeah, honestly, it is nice to have my own space. Ideally some significant other with me later on down the road. But yeah, definitely I kind of enjoy the solo game, things in my place, and being on my own schedule, my own time. That's also kind of important for I feel like me to be successful, and how I try to treat my diet. Sometimes like I could do a little bit better, but sometimes I do want to prioritize my health. It is a professional sport, so you want to make sure that you're not going through a drive-through every single week or day of the week. So honestly, it's super nice about the RV. I'm not encouraged to go through drive-throughs or stop at restaurants because the parking lots are tiny. So that's definitely one bonus for sure. So yeah, I kind of arrived at the RV. I mean, we've always seen the van lifers, the people with the vans. And I toured in my mom's. My mom has a Subaru Forester, and beginning of last year, she toured with me from Vegas to Waco, and then during Waco, I drove her to the Waco airport, and she flew home. And so then I was in her car alone touring for 2.5 months last year. I believe it was through Jonesboro until she flew out to Jonesboro, and we ended up driving all the way back to the West Coast. She ended up driving all the way back to the West Coast with me. And so then we did the whole West Coast swing last year, and then we were planning on doing the same thing with her car and just doing hotels and Airbnbs in her car. And then we got to Deglo last year, and we already had an idea that I was probably going to try to get a van of some sort for this year of 23. So that was already kind of in the back of our minds. Definitely not a long-term solution being in her car. So we left back out on the road for Deglo, and we get to Deglo, and there's the big, massive general RV thing across the highway from Discraft. And so, apparently that's where Discraft has gotten all of their RVs. So we drive by it, and my mom, she's thinking about all this stuff more than I am. I'm thinking about just playing the tournaments because I love my job. I love disc golf. And so she's like, all right, once I drop you off for your round, I'm going to go and I'm just going to look at some stuff. I'm just going to look at it. I'm just going to look. I'm like, okay, fine. You can look while I'm practicing. And she picks me up and she's like, okay, you need to come with me. I want you to check all this out. I want you to check all this out. I'm like, I really don't want to check this out. She's like, I want you to check this out. I'm like, fine, I guess I'll check it out. So we get there, and we're looking through some vans. I'm like, yeah, this is nice and all, but like, what do you expect, to buy one right now? Like, no, whatever. So then she wants to show me the Class C RVs, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing an RV by myself. Like, I want a van. Like, that's easy enough for electricity. It's got a bed. It's got a few cabinets. Like, that's doable. And then once we really thought about it, and the Class C, and we took this thing for a test drive, and then I was like, okay, I guess I might be able to do this. I don't know if I'm ready for this responsibility, but I'm going to have to be, so I might as well do it now. So kind of like forcing myself to grow up a little faster than I wanted to. There's definitely a part of me by the end of last year where I was like, I just want to go home, like enjoy the rest of my childhood. And my dad was like, no, you're 17, but you're an adult now, and you're on the road full time. So you're not, you're grown up. And so that's definitely kind of funny from my parents. Are like, no, you're grown up now. So start treating your life like it. And so then that gave me maybe a little bit more of a pep talk, confidence into getting the RV and wanting to figure all that out. Because, the timing was right. At the end of the day, the timing was right. And so we ended up at Deglo last year. We got a really good deal on this RV, and so we just went ahead and got it. And we did like a double, I don't know what you call it. Like, I pay my parents monthly because my dad has good credit and all that stuff. Like, I can't close on this RV without a credit card or anything like that. So, yeah, we're doing that, and it's working out really well, thankfully. And I love it. It's nice. Yeah, so I definitely am not. There is a part of me that's envious of the people who's doing the Airbnbs, but at the same time, like, that solution can be solved by just getting a little car for next year for me, because that is the most annoying part about this is driving the RV to and from the campground each and every day. But if I just left the RV at the campground, and I can drive that little car all week, then it's 100% definitely the best option. Like, I think the tour will probably get to the point where everybody's doing this, because those road warriors who sleep in their little cars, I'm just like, man, that is tough.
Yeah.
If that's what they love and works for them, then great. But not for me, not for my full-time gig. So
did the RV come with Mario, or did you did you put him in there?
Oh yeah, I was in Waco this year, and no, the RV did not come with Mario.
Okay.
I wish it did, but as the years have gone by, I got a Switch for my birthday at the end of last year. I was super pumped. I've always wanted a Nintendo Switch. My parents are like, "Yep, you can play it in the RV. It'll entertain you while you're feeling lonely out there." I'm like, thanks, guys. So I got a bunch of Mario games: Mario Golf, Mario Party, Mario Kart, and then one other Mario. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, and then I just love Mario. And then we went to an arcade with my friend Hayden in Waco. moved from Oregon to Texas, and he joined me for that weekend. And I was like, dude, I gotta get Mario. And so we went and got Mario. Or no, I'm totally wrong. That was not the right time. I was actually visiting my girlfriend in Colorado when I came back on the road after the Portland swing, and we went to an arcade. And not like I've gone a couple arcades this year. Arcades are so much. We went to an arcade, and there was Mario, and I'm like, you can get this, but I'm getting Mario. I'm sorry. I paid for the credits to play the games. I'm getting Mario. And he's gonna accompany me in the RV, and he's just been chilling here. He's the best companion I could have ever asked for. And he's super chill, easygoing, never speaks a word. It's nice and quiet around here. So yeah, it's been pretty great.
All right. Well, if he starts speaking you, then we have other problems that we'll have to worry about. Or if he starts running around and, I don't know, spitting fireballs at you or something. A lot of people have said this, and so I know I'm not unique in reiterating it, but you very much come across as a very mature and put together 18-year-old. There's plenty of adults, full grown adults, that don't carry themselves or couldn't
like
carry
us?
themselves, nearly as put together as you do. Where, and I mean that obviously all as in the most sincere as a compliment. Where does that come from in terms of your maturity level, your comfortability with speaking, all of those types of things, and just your general outlook? How did you arrive at all that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's such a testament to the way my parents have taught and raised me, and the experiences that I've had. Honestly, I feel like I mean, I've been homeschooled since the first grade.
Mm.
And so my parents were able to instill a lot of, adult things into me and my brother at young ages, and what it takes to, be a responsible human being. And not, be maybe so swayed by some influences of some friends or whatever. But yeah, then it has its pros and cons. You want to be social, you want to get those social experiences. And and then we really did that through a co-op. We would do like homeschool co-op, where we'd go on Fridays and spend all day Friday with a bunch of other homeschool kids and go to our class with our tutor, and then we get a ton of homework to spread out throughout that week, that one day. And so every Friday we still had the friendships, still had the connections, all those things, still got to hang out with a bunch of people, and that was amazing. But then we also still had the time with the family and influence of my parents out there at home. And so yeah, I honestly just give it all to my parents, because they're such wonderful, smart, wise people, and they've always been like, you just got to be ready for life when it comes up on you. I don't care what age you are. And so uh, yeah. We also did an online school for a while, and there was a lot of like classical education, so like college credit courses, so a little bit more. Um, I don't know if the word advanced is proper, but it's just different, and just a little more like based on logic and other things like that. And so yeah, I don't know. I feel like I mean, sometimes it felt like that school just was frustrating and annoying, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you actually did come out maybe a little good at speaking after that. But no, I appreciate the comments about the maturity, but at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I definitely don't want that to be like, like something that people think of me as makes me cocky in any way. But like, I just want to carry myself for who I am. And so like, um, yeah, I think that just any of that people recognize or bring up is just, that's all from my parents. They've done such a good job raising me, and I'm so thankful to feel confident and comfortable taking the next steps in life so early in my age, because of their help and how kind they've been through the whole process, and discipline. So
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. Everything that you're saying would it be fair to say, maybe you recognize it or you don't, depending on who else you were around in your schooling? Would it be fair to say some people might be surprised to hear even that you were homeschooled? You maybe don't fit some of the stereotypical homeschool stereotypes that you see and sometimes hear about. Sometimes, and I do not think I'm being offensive in any way when I say there is a stereotype that often you see that sometimes when children are homeschooled, there's just some lacking in some of the social categories, social interactions and such. Sometimes as a result of it or whatever, you don't display any of that whatsoever. So do you notice that with any other people maybe that were homeschooled?
Sure. I mean, everybody's different. I think my parents did a wonderful job at keeping us connected with people, even though we were homeschooled. Whether it was neighbors, friends, field trips through local. I think there was this local thing called Life at Home, and it was where a bunch of homeschool families would come together at these meetings or field trips or hikes or all of these things. So it wasn't just like, you're stuck at home all the time just with your family. It was a good outlet for us to connect with other families constantly on a pretty regular basis and build friendships, build relationships, build connections. And so yeah, I hear what you're saying about all those stereotypical kind of things, and like it is unfortunate sometimes there are some kids out there that lack some social confidence and all those things, but that's I think that's just a part of life, and nobody's going to be equipped the same as some other people. And that's again testament to my parents for what they've provided me. So
yeah, and I don't. Again, I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone out there. I don't know if the comments want to take offense to it. I've read about various studies. Actually, I just even in the last day or two, I had heard a study saying that what I just said is completely opposite and is inaccurate. I don't know. I have my social observations. I know whom I've been around, and everybody can argue about it, and that's perfectly fine. Obviously, I think with the advent of the internet and with social media and everything else, I feel like homeschooling has even taken a different turn in the last couple of decades versus when Johnny and I were coming up and
in the log cabins.
Yeah, exactly. It's clearly it's just a whole nother conversation that could be had for another day. And no way am I ripping on or dogging or taking any shots at anyone whatsoever. I'm just simply trying to tie it all together at who we see before us in the man that you've become. Even if your parents did say, "You're 17, boy, get out there and live some life," which is awesome. Which is, clearly you're ready and prepared for it. So let's finally maybe get to some actual disc golf stuff, which is, since we haven't had you here and talked to you in any in-depth capacity, give everyone your backstory to disc golf. What was it that got you introduced to it? When did you know you'd be hooked? What were some of those early memories that you have?
well, a name that you guys certainly will be, and maybe some people watching will be familiar with, is Zoe Andike. She ran a clinic with Dustin Keegan back in 2015, August of 2015, probably coming up on 8 years for me now. And she was running a clinic. I think it was some sort of series. It was like 2 or 3 days in a row at my dad's Intel campus in Hillsboro, Oregon.
I remember that.
We talked about that with her. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I've never played or heard of disc golf in my life. My dad actually played ultimate frisbee at the field of me and my brother's old elementary school before we started homeschooling. So I definitely had loved throwing frisbees. I knew how to throw a frisbee because my dad loved ultimate, and I loved ultimate. But by the time like I was throwing frisbees, I was too small. I had no business being on the field. I just loved playing catch with dad. So by the time in 2015, when Zoe and Dustin were teaching that clinic, my dad went to their first one, I believe, and he came home and he's like, "Hey, I went to this clinic and there's these two pros that are teaching this thing called disc golf, and I want you guys to come check it out." And so we ended up going, and I ended up learning the basics of it, and I didn't think any much of it, but I loved it. I loved the frisbee. I loved the flight of the frisbee, and I had a blast doing it, and I wanted to play, but I don't think like the passion of any sort of like anything bigger than just a fun thing to do with dad, a fun thing to do with the family, and just a cool thing that we just learned. And Zoe, being the just flower that she is, and as a person, and just super kind and friendly. My parents ended up doing a private lesson with them at Milo MacIver State Park. I think maybe a few days or a week after that clinic, and we'd been working on. Maybe it was further after that, because I think I kind of knew how to throw a little bit by the time that we saw them. Um, but yeah, we went to the state park and we played some disc golf, and I got a lot better after that day. And I was like a super smooth, I think 612 rating was my first rating update. So I mean, pretty awful, but we're a lot better now. That was in 2016. I played my first, or it was
2015.
it was 2016.
2015.
It was
I think the
2015.
PDGA
Was
has you for
2015?
the Busy Beaver
Really?
Open.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been playing for 2 or 3 months, and I entered my first tournament. I was the only junior in the tournament, so I
Yeah.
did win. Hey, no haters. I won the
Nope.
tournament.
Nope. That's one of
Nobody
the
else's
27
fault.
career wins.
Yeah, they all signed up. Nobody signed up. That's not my fault. I went
You
out
can
there and
only
did
beat
my
the
job.
people. You can only beat the people
Exactly.
who show up. That's my saying. Yep.
Exactly. I think I averaged 658 for the tournament, but hey, I won by infinite amount of
Everything.
strokes. It
Yep.
was awesome. So yeah, I ended up doing a little tournament, and I just had a blast with the tournament. And we played some Ring of Fire, and I ended up winning the Ring of Fire one round, and I was just stoked. And so, really, from that point on, it was just a fun thing to do with the family. We had a trailer as a family. We'd go out, and on the weekends during the summertime, almost every weekend, it felt like we lived with like a 20-foot by 30-foot yard in the front yard, and like a 50-foot by 10-foot yard in the backyard. So we had like not much breathing room, no property at all in a neighborhood. And so we needed to just get out on the weekends. We need to get out to state parks, whatever. And that's what disc golf was, an outlet for our family to get away from all of that. And my dad is very much about trees and nature and all those things. And he loves it. And he's a lumberjack now on our new property. But yeah, so back then it was definitely needing the trailer and going out as a family for disc golf. And my brother never really took form of it. He played a little bit, but also hated it. I think his expectations for his success were not met when he would throw the disc. But just his preference, he likes the video games, the card games, the kind of more of the maybe nerdy stuff, if you want to say, not in any negative way towards him, but that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it just kind of turned into kind of me and my mom and my dad, and my brother tolerated it for a while. But we'd go out on the weekends, play those grind out B tiers, C tiers, one round in the morning, then eat lunch, and then run around in the afternoon, or leave at 5:30 a.m., wake up and get ready to go. So those were definitely the good beginning days. But at that point, I was big into soccer. I was big into soccer and basketball. Those were my two sporting loves, and I had great passions for those. I had always, maybe as a kid, dreamed of becoming some sort of professional at some sport, because I hated school. I did not want to go to college or just any of that junk. So I just I continued to work hard at the sports that I loved. And so that was just a huge passion. I was most excited when I got to go to practices and everything. And then soccer, I started playing select league, which is a little bit more competitive, and I was by far one of the worst players on my team. And I just found that I'm like, I'm not cut out. I'm not cut out for this. That I was not getting playing time, and I was just like, I think it's probably time to hang up the cleats and play some more basketball. So we get to the point where I'm playing more basketball, and then at this time, I'm playing a little more disc golf. Just took soccer out of the equation. We're playing some more disc golf, and now basketball. I'm playing in middle school, having a blast. 7th and 8th grade middle school basketball for our local private school, um, and I got to play for them. And then we get to high school, and when I'm beginning to come freshman, they say I cannot play for their high school team unless I go to their high school. And that was a huge bummer for me, because I love basketball so much. I just wanted to keep playing, and I've always wanted to play high school basketball. But since I couldn't go to the school, I couldn't play basketball. So I went to the local public school, and I went to try out for their team and just a couple open gyms. with the coaches there and everything, and it was just not a good environment for me. For me personally, I just did not appreciate the environment. A lot of foul language and things just thrown around that I was just, it's just not me. It's not something I want to be a part of and be around. And so, yeah, I think I even the coaches were like they were like sprint 10 laps around the basketball court, and I'm like freshman skinny dude. I don't know what I'm doing, and I was like, I had trouble breathing. I had to like stop after 9. Like, I don't have asthma. I was just running my butt off. I wanted to prove something to these people. And I like collapsed and was like crying because I thought the coaches were, they hated me. And the coaches were honestly not that nice. They were just not nice at all. And just like, even they were cussing at the kids sometimes. Like, it was just not a good situation. And so I left that practice and I said, yeah, I'm not going back. Not going back. I'm just gonna not play basketball, and that was such a hard thing to accept because I loved basketball so much. And at the end of the day, like if I hadn't found disc golf, I feel like I probably would have maybe found some way for basketball to work. But yeah, it ended up not working out. So as soon as I stopped playing basketball, that was around 2018. I ended up going pro the next year in disc golf in 2019. So now soccer and basketball are out of the equation. Now I'm just getting so much better at disc golf. I go from being an intermediate disc golfer in 2018. All of the year of 2018, I was playing the intermediate division, and then the end of 2018, I turned to MA1, and I ended up winning like my third or fourth ever MA1 tournament. And then I played MA1 and just kind of dominated MA1 for a little bit all that year. And then I went to the Next Gen Championship in 2019, which is where Kyle Klein absolutely torched the field. So I went there and took 18th, and ended up deciding to become a professional. And at that point, we were kind of thinking about it being a career. My dad was pretty set on me going to college, that I was going to go to college, I was going to graduate, and disc golf was just kind of going to be this side thing. But for me, I loved this. I loved disc golf, and I honestly saw an opening for me to become something more in it. And I had acquired my first sponsor in 2019, which was my chiropractor and still sponsor, Brandon Garland with Oregon Sports and Family Chiropractic. He was my first ever sponsor. I wore him solo on my back for the year of 2020, or 2019, and then also the year of 2020. And so I got through 2020. The COVID year was kind of crazy, but the sport exploded. And then my family and my dad kind of saw a little bit more of like, okay, wow, there's a lot more money coming into the sport. There's a lot more people into the sport. There's a lot more things revolving around this sport now, and it seems a little bit more of a more financially stable, viable option for a life and a career. And so from that point forward, it was just kind of like, all right, well, if we're going to do this, then we need to do this. And you're really good right now, and this is a great time for us to get you out there and start holding your own on tour. Mm-hmm. So by the end of 2020, we were instantly preparing ourselves. 2020, I had played MPO all year long. I had not won anything, but I had played a lot of pro tournaments. Well, I mean, a lot of them were actually canceled, so I probably didn't play that many. I probably only played like 4 or 5 tournaments that year. But I've been working my butt off. I was homeschooled. I had nothing else to do but then play disc golf with my friends and play outside by myself. And also by 2018 and 2019, we had moved out of that home in the neighborhood. We had moved into a new property out on Bald Peak, between Hillsborough and Newburgh, where we have 11 acres, and I designed my own disc golf course.
Well, that's kind of nice.
That is super nice. Yeah, my dad has done so much work out there. He cuts down so many dead trees on the weekly, and he loves it so much. He has this tractor that he drives around. And so, yeah, we designed our own little course, and over so much time, he's put in so much work, and I've put in a good amount of hours myself on just clearing out that property and making it something fun and special. I think my new course it's 18 holes, and it's I've designed like 4 different 18-hole layouts on it, but they all intertwine within like 6 or 7 acres because some of the acreage was not usable at the time. And right now the course record is 6 under par. It is not an easy course.
Dang.
So I've made it difficult.
11 acre, 6 under par. You would think a course like that, you imagine a personal course, it's probably average hole 200, 250 feet, but 6 under par.
I mean, you make it work. I mean, there's a lot of holes overlapping each other, obviously crossing fairways, or like I used to have a par 3 here and then a par 3 here, and then now I've connected those 2 par 3s to make a par 4. So it's just a lot of stuff happening like that, where you play down 1 par 4 and then you rewind and play it the other way because it works both ways for the hole. So yeah, a lot of practice obviously on that property. My game got a lot better, and then in 2021 I really decided to take it as much as possible. And I was sponsored by Discraft for the first time by a major sponsor, sponsored by Discraft, and went on the road.
Well,
and now,
thank you.
I was gonna say, and now you're sponsored by DGA. You've been sponsored by DGA.
Yep, now I'm sponsored by DGA.
2 years. This is your second year, correct?
This is my first year.
Oh, this is your first year. Okay, I couldn't. Time flies when you're our age. For some reason, I thought it was this was your second year. So not a bad first year for DGA then. I would say for you getting.
No,
I mean, arguably the biggest elite series event of the year. We obviously there's majors and we've got a couple other playoff events, but this is arguably the biggest elite series event of the year. DGA in general this year has had a really good season for their team for a long time. I mean, they're one of the oldest, not the oldest, companies in disc golf. And up until, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, there wasn't much to speak of on the DGA team. But over the last 2 to 3 years, they've really, yourself, Marweed, Austin Turner now, Katrina Allen. I mean, you guys are all performing at the top level. Is going from Discraft to DGA. Do you feel like you're missing anything with DGA, or do you have a full selection of everything you'd ever want with those discs?
Well, I was with Discraft in 21, and I actually went over to Infinite Discs last year in 22. That was my sponsor for last year. And the open bag was really awesome. It was a really cool experience to throw whatever the heck I wanted. But it was also pretty overwhelming because there's so many options and you have so many people being like, you should try this disc and do this disc. And I'm like, wait, how am I going to get that disc? Oh, you should send me this disc. And then there's just so many different options out there that you also question, like, oh, is there a better disc for this shot than I'm actually throwing? Like, maybe I should do some research on somebody else. So, I mean, that's a small part of it, obviously, but it was also something. I mean, it was in some ways brought a little level of anxiety and stress to just having so many options, and it was just kind of become and when you have these signature runs with so many different little companies or things like that. Like I think I had a few with Legacy, one with Wild Discs, one with Infinite as well. Doing all these signature discs, like there's more people to keep in touch with. There's just a lot more business involved than really what I was looking for. So if that works for someone like a Drew Gibson who has so much, so many discs with different companies and all of these things, and he's a businessman, and that works for him. That's great. But for me, being young in the sport, that wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. And so, I loved Infinite. It was amazing. It was awesome to be able to throw that open bag and have a lot of options. But at the end of the day, I was excited also to spread my wings somewhere else. And so when DGA came around last off season, we were able to work something out, and it just ended up being a really good option. And one thing I really loved about DGA was not really being overshadowed by anybody. I knew a breakout season was waiting for me. I was feeling really confident in my game, and really new discs weren't something that scared me. I was like, honestly, I think I'll find confidence pretty quickly. I had thrown a few DGA discs. For a while, I'd thrown a Quake and a Pipeline and a Hellfire, some of these other staple molds that they've had for a long time. I'd thrown an Aftershock, or a Shockwave, actually, which is just an old version of the Aftershock. But so yeah, it came very naturally, and honestly, I'm very stoked that it's been such a good year so far, and I'm happy for them because they took a chance on me, and I'm just very, very fortunate that I was able to pull through for them. So
yeah, so I have to ask one more thing about discs. Everybody's been asking, what was the disc you threw 2 miles in the air when you fell down on the course. What is it? Whole
13.
13? What was
Yeah.
that you threw? And are you okay? Because the freeze frame that I saw, your leg was one direction, your body was the other. And when I was here cutting the show, watching you, I immediately spotted the ankle, and I was like, "Ugh, he's young. Hopefully he's okay."
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't feel any pain whatsoever on that fall. It honestly felt like a pretty graceful fall for what it could have been. I know I did look back at the coverage and it did look ugly. I will say it looked ugly. I'm like, man, I looked like I totally just ruined my ankle and that my body hit the ground so hard. But honestly, it didn't feel it, I really didn't feel anything. Um, and so yeah, I just put all my effort into that shot. Threw it like 2 miles into the sky, and Paul Ulibarri was just in awe because he could barely see my disc that high in the air. But it was a first flight hypercane. So hypercane's a new disc that came out a couple years ago with DGA. It's their very overstable distance driver, and the first flights came out nice and domey and beefy. So that pink one was also what I threw on hole 5 and hole 6's drive and hole 6's upshot. So those big hyzer shots, that is the disc that I was using, a first flight hypercane.
Okay. And a moment ago, we were just talking about, the chance and the DGA took and the year you're having. I thought this was somewhat interesting as I was just flipping through a moment ago. 2020, when you were playing pro, of course, you won $2,800. As we said, that was a weird year with COVID and such. You win $2,800. 2021, for the year, you win $11,026 playing in 31 events. In 2022, for the year, you play in 30 events, so one less event, and you win $13,000 and change. In 2023, regardless of the year, I just mentioned, 11 or 12,000, then 13,000. Just like 48 hours ago, you cashed a $12,500 check, figuratively.
I hope you've cashed it.
Yeah. When you look at 2 years of roughly making $12,000 or $13,000, and then Sunday being handed a check for $12,500, how does that compute in your head? As you're at $34,000 for the year now, but even again taking 2 full years worth of work compared to one weekend, then how does that compute in your head?
That's wild. I mean, it's. I mean, I feel like I've all, one of my really close friends, Ty Love, back in Oregon. Like we met in 2016 at the Beaver State Fling at a chapel service, and we've been friends. We've been doing this journey together for so long. Visiting his house, he'd visit my house. We'd play our courses and call, doing putting practice together. We've been doing this journey together, and I'm excited for the world to see what he can do, because he was one of those guys on the 18th green that just came in and just embraced me. Like I gave him a hug, and it was honestly pretty emotional for us. Just is like we didn't care who got their first big win. We were going to be happy for the other person, and we were going to celebrate that moment together, because it felt more of like a win for us together rather than just for that person. And so yeah, it just just how big that moment was on Sunday. I wish it would have felt bigger. I mean, I don't know how to say that. Like it was amazing, but it honestly kind of wasn't was that what I expected. But I was also just like, maybe it was just the mood of my round, of just how I was just like so dialed in and locked in and focused, to automatically shift to pure celebration, I think was kind of difficult. And so, I think it's definitely each and every day it's sinking in just a little bit more, a little bit more. But to hear those numbers, yeah, that's pretty wild. And it's pretty wild to think about how much bigger and better this year is than last year. But honestly, it maybe doesn't feel that so big, because I've always known it was coming. Me and Ty, we've always prepared each other, and we've always prepared ourselves for this moment, exactly what I'm kind of going through right now. And so it honestly feels like something that, it maybe the feeling is something like I've already achieved it, maybe because I knew that I would, or maybe that I knew that I'd get to that point. It was just a matter of time when it was going to happen. And I think last year, I wanted it to happen, but I don't think I was ready. I was still working on a new form change from the year of 21 to 2022. And then for the form change all of last year, learning to make it my own. I was dealing with some severe putting struggles last year. You don't want to look at those stats. You will not find any sort of comfort in your stomach. So I was working on some putting issues. And then, yeah, it just, I knew this year was going to be a good year going into it, and I'm like, my game feels better than ever. My putting feels better than ever. It's time to get to work. And so yeah, I'm super thankful that it's paying off, and those numbers, they're sounding a lot better. So yeah.
Do you feel like you wanted a bigger moment, so to speak? Do you think that is because of the way the final round went down? I mean, you shot a phenomenal 14 under to finish that to final. No one had a chance to catch you. You didn't give people a chance. Everybody went in, not everybody, but most of us went into the round thinking he needs to shoot about a 10 down. That was kind of the number that was being thrown around. And you just went out and put your foot down. You never looked back. You shot a 14 under par. And for us behind the scenes, by about the 13th hole, we assumed you had it wrapped up. We were making graphics. We were doing all the things that we do to prep for winners. And as we know, anything can happen. You know, you could have thrown it 7 times into the water on 17 or something. I don't know. But it just, do you think that because it wasn't so exciting, that maybe the emotion didn't hit you, that you had time to let it sink in? Do you feel that maybe that's why you were looking for a bigger moment as opposed to winning on hole 18 with like a 32-foot putt over tie or something?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Eagle talked to me about before the round was that imagine the round is like armor, or imagine the strokes that you have on the field is just like armor for you. And you don't want to show cracks in that armor. And so that really, he's like, you also need to find your flow. So he encouraged me to take deep breaths. 3 things Eagle told me: to take deep breaths on every single shot. Don't let the armor crack and show. And then don't, make sure that you are, yeah, just pushing forward and holding that together. And so that was my goal the whole time. I think the stoic look on my face, the pure intensity that I was bringing to the round was just me saying, I have this armor and I'm not going to let it crack. And any little mistake that I made, or any little bit of fortune that I got and thing that went my way, I made sure I was going to capitalize on it. People can say that I got lucky on a couple shots, and I certainly did. I will stand by that. But for me, it's all about how you capitalize, and things are going to go some people's way and some things are going to go other person's way. And that's just how the game of disc golf and the element hole works. It's about how you capitalize on it. And that's something I'm really proud of, is how I did capitalize on it. And so, yeah, I think, sometimes I don't know. And maybe it was just this expectation of thinking the moment would be bigger, and it wasn't. And maybe that's just the way it is, But at the same time, like, I'm not sitting here disappointed that I won the tournament. Like, absolutely not. That's not what I'm trying to say. Is like, I am so ecstatic. Like, I cannot believe that I'm still. I'm like
yawning.
I cannot believe that every morning now I get to wake up and look at this trophy sitting on my dinette, and then that thing of, like, them announcing your name for the tournament being like Ledgestone Open champion, or whatever they want to say, if that's included. That's just such an amazing honor and opportunity and thing to have attached and associated to your name. But in all honesty, if I had to break it all down, the reason why it maybe didn't feel as big as it should is because that's not where my worth and identity rests in my life, is with the titles that I have and accumulate. And I'm a man of faith for Jesus and God, and I think that's where my worth and rest lies, is with Him. And so, the championships are just a bonus, and so yeah, I'm stoked and I'm happy, and my success is other success as well. And that moment was incredible, and maybe more incredible. And I made a post today. I said, almost like the way I was embraced by all of my friends on tour was honestly more of an incredible feeling than it was actually winning the tournament. You know, just all of that love and support that we all want from people around us and in our lives, just to have all of that collapse on me in that single moment was honestly sometimes you could say a little bit more powerful than the win itself. So yeah.
Well, I want to go back a little bit earlier in the round. Right around holes 7, 8, 9, 10. Andrew Marweed on your card smashes an ace. Phenomenal. I mean, what a great moment. We're all excited in the booth.
Yeah.
Everybody's giving high fives on the card. We're just like, oh, this is great, this is great. And suddenly you hear an eruption of ways away, and there's no way for us to hide it in the control room. Like, we like to try to sneak things in, like, hey, pretend like nobody knows what's going on. You can't do that with an ace nearby. Did you know that was... Did it get word back to you that it was Calvin? And did you, at that point, you're thinking, he's your competition. He just dropped down an ace. You get up to that hole and take a 3. I immediately said, that's a 2-stroke swing. Like, at that point, it was still, there was still a chance you weren't going to win. How were you feeling at that moment? Were you scared that Calvin was going to run you down?
Yeah, I mean, the whole time I was scared that Rick was going to run me down. You know, Rick is one of the fiercest players, you know, coming out from behind you down into a deficit, you know, warming up with him in the warm up area was like, bro, this dude is like, I don't know, this dude looks like he's about to, you know,
he can get pretty intense
over with his arm, you know. Yeah, he's an intense player, and you know, and so maybe I'm being too open about all this stuff, you know.
No, this is great.
But yeah, no, I definitely knew that, you know, especially with 5 players being at 18 under and only 4 back, that anything was happening. At least one of those players was going to give me a run for my money and going to make that push for the lead. I didn't know who it was going to be, but I was pretty certain that it was going to be probably in the order of Calvin Heimberg, Ricky Wysocki, Ezra, you know, from that list down, like it was going to be those guys. And so from the minute the round started, I wasn't thinking playing safe at all. I was thinking stick to my game plan and get some more birdies today, because that's what it's going to take to win the tournament. And so, yeah, by that point, I was so focused on doing what I was doing. I think I was like 6 down through 7 at that point. So I wasn't super worried about anybody else because I was trying to be in my flow state, in my element. But as soon as we did hear that eruption, I still did not check UDisc. I was like, you're not going to check UDisc. You're going to hear from somebody else what happened, because I didn't want to see where everybody was at. And I heard somebody in the crowd be like, Calvin Heimberg on hole 10. And I was like, whoa, Calvin just aced hole 10. Like that's an incredible ace. And at that point, I'm like, if a Calvin ace, like, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he's shredding. So then at that point, my mind instantly went to, pretend you have a 4-stroke lead right now still. Pretend you haven't gained anything else on the field, even though you're shredding yourself, and just keep doing what you're doing. And so that's all my mind went to. It wasn't to, oh, you've lost a little bit of your lead because Calvin's beating you. And like, no, it was just all about staying in my element and continuing to pressing forward. And at the end of the day, I could have been like, I also thought too, I'm like, well, who knows? Maybe he was only like 2 under, and then he got an ace, and then he only got to 4 under. You know, so it's like, the ace is cool, but if I haven't seen the scoreboard, it means nothing to me yet. So,
yeah, and I'd say that makes sense. And I know a lot of times I tend to scold players who don't look at the UDisc scores. I'm like, you kind of have to know, especially going into the back 9, if you need to push or not. You are one of the rare instances I'm looking and I say, there's no reason to look at your scorecard. When you've birdied all but 2 of the front 10, there's nothing more you can do. It's not like you can push harder. You can't. There's no decisions to be made. So one of the few instances where I say, all right, I guess not looking at UDisc, not knowing your score is totally fine because you're already birdieing everything and you're not so much worried. If someone is catching you and you're doing that, then we're probably
they deserve to win.
They deserve to win. I mean, if
100%, 100%.
I mean, there's only so much you can do, and that makes perfect sense. And I just real quick want to go back to the thought of, you know, as you readily admit, you got a break or two. Every champion does, right? At every tournament, there's at one point where a disc stops or hits and rolls or doesn't roll or rolls, you know, more than it should, or gets an extra skip or whatever the case might be. And I think anyone is delusional if they think that doesn't happen. It may or may not happen during the final round,
Mhm.
but somebody is always when we have so many good players, sometimes a little extra luck or just something that happens to go your way can be it's inevitable. And I think anyone that wants to dismiss any of the accomplishment, it's not like you threw 9 terrible tee shots and just miraculously, you birdied 8 of the holes. I mean, sometimes you get an extra inch or two or an extra little, kick or whatever. That's one thing, but it's not like you're out there just spraying shots around.
And I think anyone that plays Northwood Black enough, whether 2, 3, 4 times, you're going to see it level out. Your good kicks are going to be followed up by bad kicks. I mean, and if you can make it through Northwood without kicks, hallelujah to you. But it's not usually happening.
I'll give you a little example. So I was on hole 13, and that was a super slick tee pad that day 3. And me and Ezra both slipped. He yanked his right. I yanked mine early. I didn't yank it, but I early released it left, right? And so I was way left of the gap. My disc gets through literally every tree to where I have this super nice backhand turnover to the green.
Mm-hmm.
His shot kicks right straight into the bushes. And, that's just the way 2 of those shots went. I did end up capitalizing, getting up for birdie on 13.
Mm-hmm.
But then my very next tee shot on 14, it was early release, but it gets a tree kick and kicks straight left.
Mm-hmm.
And then on 15, I end up hitting a tree on the right, and it ends up rolling all the way across the fairway out of bounds. So, yes, there were times where I got really fortunate, but also the course did take it back and did send me out of bounds.
Yeah,
so,
those are just some of the laws
exactly
of
like you're
averages.
saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then another, we'll say, statistical note. I was standing there after everything was said and done, and you've signed some autographs, and there's a few people just kind of meandering around at the very end of the night, and you're sitting there hanging out near the autograph tent, and someone says to you, "Hey, nice work. That was rated," I think at the time they said 1094, 1093, whatever. And you said, "Oh, wow, was it really? That's the first I've heard of it." Or that's the first you had heard what the unofficial rating was. Just react to that and what it does or doesn't mean to have now a 1093, the second highest rated round of the season.
It's actually 1096 now.
And now that ratings were officially updated today, 1096. So just react to that. What does that mean to you?
I mean, honestly, I'm just super disappointed it didn't get to that 1100 rate.
Okay. You're writing a petition letter to the ratings committee. No, I am absolutely fired up. I did not think that it was even going to get to the 1090s. Maybe that's just because I felt so robbed about my 9 under at Northwoods being 1065. I don't know what that was about, but it was terrible. Okay. Yep.
If anything, my 9 down at Northwood was more impressive than that 14 under at Eureka. Just because Eureka's shots are a little more predictable than all the trees at Northwood. But that's arguable. But anyway, I definitely am super stoked about having a 1090 under my belt. Ratings are ratings. Of course, they're going to rate differently, but definitely super cool. And honestly, to just again, I just feel like it would be blowing my mind as much as it was blowing other people's about just the massiveness of that moment of my first time leading a tournament and then just busting out the greatest round I've thrown in a long time. Just to close it out, it's just unreal. And so, once I heard that, I couldn't believe it. I don't think I'd even shot a 1080 at that point. I think my preserve 15 under officially was 1081, but I didn't know it yet. I think when I last saw it, it was only 1078. So I thought my best was still in the 1070s. But that's super awesome. I'm super stoked to have a 1096, and really wish I could have birdied the 18th to get to that 1100. But at the same time, can't complain when you're winning the tournament. So
no, at the end of the day, the W is what matters. And I know I also brought up your caddy as he had said right after hole 18's tee shot, he said, "Cole, I'm so proud of you," is what I heard him say. And it was just a moment. But I got to admit, in all honesty, I don't know who that is. So can you elaborate on your caddy, the relationship, and what that meant to you?
Yeah, I feel really bad because I didn't shout him out in my interviews or
Mhm.
anything like that. I didn't say like, "Oh, thanks so much, my caddy." Like, I feel awful. But so just to let the people know, I did really much appreciate my caddy, and he did phenomenal on the bag all week. His name is Eben with a B,
Mhm.
Eben, Eben, Eben Eddy, and he is a chaplain for Eagles Wings disc golf. And he
Okay.
tours. He comes out on tour and teaches at our chapel services. And that week was the week that he was walking with me. He walks with the Eagles Wings players. Each and every event is different one at different events, and that was my event for him at Ledgestone. And round one, I was like, I don't know if I want you to carry the bag, so I'm just gonna carry the bag. And then if I end up letting you carry the bag, then we'll see. Um, and I birdied one the first round, birdied two the first round, birdied three the first round, and then I threw a bad shot on hole four, and I said, "All right, you can carry the bag for the rest of the round." So yeah, and then so he carried the bag the rest of the round, and ended up closing out pretty decent. And then Northwood the next day for round two, I was like, okay, I'm gonna carry the bag again unless I want you to. And it's different for me. Like, I don't usually like a caddy unless I'm gonna have them from start to finish of the tournament,
Mhm.
or not at all. Like it's. I think I want consistency in my rounds and who's gonna be there and what's gonna be influencing it. And he told me he was gonna be there through Sunday, so it was good that I knew that he was gonna be there for that final day. So we get halfway through hole one the second day, I end up giving him my bag again, and then being like, okay, just carry it. Like, you're wearing my caddy bib, but you got
Yeah.
nothing on your back, and then this is just awkward. So just throw my bag on and let's play some disc golf. Um, so yeah, it was great, and he was just super encouraging, and um, you know, Eben. I mean, he won't be offended by this. He's not very good at the game of disc golf, and so, but I gave him a lot of form tips, uh, and yeah, he was just amazing. Honestly, sometimes it's better to have that person to maybe not have input or advice on your shot, but maybe
Mhm.
just bounce thoughts off of. And so, whenever I had a bad shot, I'd walk up to him and be like, "Yeah, I did this thing wrong, and I'll improve on that next time." And that was a huge part of my mental space and composure was about identifying what went wrong and how I'm going to change it. I think it's just so unprofessional when somebody's just they feel so victim to a situation when I believe bad luck is the result of a bad shot in the first place. There's of course cases where a great shot can get unlucky, and I'll
Mhm.
stand by that. But most times, if you get bad luck, yeah, it's because a little early release or a little late release that didn't go right down the middle. So it was kind of cool to just tell him and just be like, yeah, just didn't quite stand up the shoulders enough, and that didn't quite get over that disc enough, didn't quite, throw it hard enough. And he'd be like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. All right, awesome. And he didn't say like, all right, well, let's get, he wasn't like, all right, well, how about we just birdie the next three holes, because that's thinking too far ahead. He never said
Sure.
anything like that. He never threw anything off my rhythm. It was just positive reinforcement for what I was saying. And, it was just awesome. And then, him being a chaplain for our group with Eagles Wings, we shared a lot of good moments of prayer together as well during the round and before and after. So yeah, it was just a really good opportunity for us to connect and be in that moment together. So yeah,
Well, it sounds like he was essentially absorbing and was almost a sounding board for him just to take it all in, and that's your style. And something I wanted to mention at some point, especially during round one. This is kind of a tangent, but not. I watched the interaction with Paul Macbeth and Alexis Mandujano. Paul walks up. He says he's going to caddy for Alexis, first round FPO. They were at Northwood. Paul walks up and they've known each other for years, but he says, okay, well, how do you want this to go? Do you want me just to carry the bag? Do you want
mm,
anything back from me or whatever? She goes, no, just carry the bag. He's like, all right, I'll shut up. And he put the bag on. And like, it is important,
yep,
as you just described, it
mm-hmm,
is important to know what you want and what you're going to get out of a caddy, because we all know
yep,
that can be the worst thing in the world is a caddy that just doesn't shut up, that may be giving you unsolicited advice, or becomes a distraction more than an actual help to you. And I just think people need to be
yep,
very open and frank, like right off the bat, hole one or even before that. like, here's how it's going to go. And it sounds like you guys had that relationship pretty quickly figured out, which is
Yep.
again, a help in every way.
I definitely told him what I wanted to hear and what I didn't want to hear. So
Yeah. Set those boundaries. Nobody, if you're there truly to befriend and or to be an assistance to any player, no matter if they're better or worse than you, like, set those expectations, have those right off the bat, and I think it'll be a much better experience for everyone. There's far too many caddies, and I hear them. And if they're annoying me, I just can only imagine what they're doing to the player when they're going on and on. Oh, yesterday I did this. Like, we don't care.
Oh my goodness. I will say, if you are ever caddy for somebody, do not talk about yourself.
Yeah.
Please do not
Yeah.
talk about yourself.
Yeah.
It is their moment. You're there to help them. Thank you. That's my TED talk about that.
I very much agree and can appreciate that. It's a staple question of mine. Anything, and I think you might have a different answer. So, is there anything out of the ordinary that, when we look at your schedule, we look at your tour life, and somebody like, huh? Or what? Like, is there anything that, as an avid fan or follower, when someone looks at your schedule or thinks about how you close out the season, is there anything abnormal there, or is everything what we would expect? What's your rest of your year look like?
Rest of my year is follow the tour all the way through, play the championship, play the USDGC, all the playoffs, playing here in Idlewild. Yeah, nothing too special. No, yeah, I'm playing MVP and Worlds, and yep. I'm not playing the Silver Series in New York. That is something I will be skipping.
Okay.
For a week off before Worlds. I'll be doing some extra work for the World Championship. Just not enough time to practice for the World Championship if I went to play that one. I also have some family in New York I think I'm going to stay with for a little while, which will be really nice.
Cool.
But yep, closing out the season as expected. I know some people were wondering why I did not go to Europe this year. Europe was just not on the schedule, and mainly, my first year on the road by myself, just didn't really want to push it too much, and just financially wasn't quite there as well. As a lot of players, are also in that boat. The money's getting bigger in the sport, but we all got to grow with it as well and do what's smart for us. And so yeah, that's and also my job, I think, as a human being, is to not put myself in like jeopardizing situations and spread money too thin. And so yeah, I think next year is definitely for sure I'm going to make it a priority. Yeah.
Now, thank you for all of that. My follow-up to it would be, I feel like at one point I heard you say that you're, I'll say, more comfortable than others at taking a weekend off, or possibly not going to every single event in and out, like, just every single event on the grind. Am I thinking of you saying that, or am I maybe confusing you with hearing another young touring pro say that?
Absolutely. I mean, I will never miss an Elite Series. I'll tell you that. Like
Okay.
that, like the points is too big at an Elite Series. It is your job. At the end of the day, it is your job. You're out here doing it, and I think, I think, I think breaks for like 3 or 4 tournaments in the middle of the year. If that works for you, then great. If you can do it, then great. But honestly, I think from a brand standpoint, from a sponsor standpoint, from a fan standpoint of, who knows, maybe there's, 5 people at that tournament that saved up to get this ticket and, were able to go watch this tournament, and, oh, I'm not showing up. I'm not, because I feel like I want to break. I think silver events are a little bit of an exception. They're smaller. The points aren't too high there, so I feel okay with skipping on those, especially if they've had a couple elites in a row and and I have a good place to go. I will definitely play an Elite Series if I'm like, what else am I going to do this week? I'm definitely just going to play it. I did skip out on Missoula in Montana to spend an extra week at home because I was already at home for the Portland swing. I also did not go to Shelton in Washington and play that Silver Series because, again, I was home. So there's little things like that where I'm like, yeah, I'm home. I'm going to stay home for an extra week, and there's not too much on the line, like a Silver Series that I'm missing out on. So I'll wait and just play the Elite tournaments. So yeah, I'll definitely play the Elite tournaments. I want to treat it like a job. It is a job, And it's my passion and my love, but secondly and most importantly, it is my job, and I have ambitions of you know providing for maybe a family one day, and I want to take it seriously. So yeah.
Okay. Final question along those lines then, in terms of the tour before we wrap up with you. This weekend moved you up 7 spots into 11th in the tour standings. How does 11th in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, how does that sound to you?
Way better than I expected at the beginning of the year. I think beginning of the year I was hoping for top 25. I think was my goal, and I've been hovering around that 20 to 10th mark, or like 15th to 20th mark. I've just been kind of hovering there for a little while. So yeah, it's definitely nice to come out on top and push that a little bit further up the leaderboard. And sometimes you just gotta. I've told this to some of my friends, like, even when you're having a bad round, sometimes you have to take a step back and look at where you actually are on the leaderboard. And like I remember at Mid America Open, I just wasn't playing well that final round. I'm like, hold up, where are we on the leaderboard? I'm like 6th place. I'm like, okay, cool. You get 3 more birdies, you're back into 3rd. So how about we get going? So it's like, I think the same thing is about that in tour points. Like, oh man, I've had a couple bad events this year. Is such a waste. And like, hold up, I'm still in 18th place in tour points. I need to, kick it into gear, get a couple good events going. And so that's for me. That's awesome. It's music to my ears. Feels so much better than last year. Last year I barely missed the tour championship in the play-in, and this year I'm like, I better be well in that thing. And honestly, to be in a position to be able to play for some buys is honestly super fun for me, because I was just purely wanting to make the tour championship. Um, and I'd like to keep my goals kind of like my expectations kind of low, just so that I can exceed them pretty easily. Um, but I also want them to be realistic. I don't want to just be like, all right, I hope I can, just have a better year than last year. I'm gonna set goals for myself, but yeah, it definitely feels good to be in 11th right now. And then I also saw the world rankings went up, and I bumped into 8th place. I don't know how that is very relevant, but I am pretty stoked about that one as well.
You ranked number 1 on our Smashbox interviews for Tuesday night, August 8th as well. So the ratings, standings, we're happy to see you go up.
There's a lot of different rankings that people look at and determine.
Yep.
I have to ask, we're going to talk a little bit more about discs before you go here. And it's our job as podcasters to put pressure on your manufacturer. Are we going to see a special run Cole disc for the Ledgestone win? Is DGA going to do something special for your huge victory?
Some commemorative something or other.
I will say right now we have a 20% off sale going on for DGA discs as far as my signature Tour Series disc goes for this year. And then a couple other molds that I throw in my bag. So go check out discgolf.com/Cole and grab yourself some new DGA discs to try. And then, yes, we are going to work on something special to come out with. I don't have many details on that. I haven't talked too much about it, but pretty sure something is going to be in the works, and I'm excited to see how it comes. So. Yeah.
Yep, we do have some people from DGA on the board. They're obviously West Coasters, so it's a little earlier for them, and we know it's getting late for you. So if you could maybe run through your sponsors, thank whoever you need to thank before we let you go tonight,
and how people can follow and support you, social medias, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I just thanks so much to DGA Disc Golf. I'm thrilled with the year that we've already had. They've supported me so well this year, so. I have nothing but amazing good things to say about them. They've been super easy to work with, super kind people. I love that they're on the West Coast, same time zone as me. That really helps a lot. But yeah, I really encourage you guys to support DGA, a company that has my best interests in their pocket, as well as mine for theirs. So thank you, DGA, so much for this year. And then, Oregon Sports and Family Chiropractic, my chiropractor back home, has been with me since day one. Brandon does amazing work. So if you're ever in the area of Newburgh, go check out his office. He does also things like functional strength training and massage and acupuncture and all of these other things that can help you be better for yourself. I love Pound Disc Golf. Coming out with signature Rufuses soon, as far as next week, maybe a week after. The Rufus bag is super nice and light. If you look on coverage, we'll look at it. That colorway that I'm bagging right now is my signature colorway. So those will be the colors that are coming out, as well as both sides zip down. If any of you are familiar with the Rufus bag, only one side usually zips down. With mine, both sides zip down. So if you're if you like symmetrical things like me, then you'll be excited for this bag.
Which I do.
OTB discs. OTB discs for the retail sponsor. They have a great support for me this year. Also, we just did a run of the Redalen Tsunami in the PL plastic. So please go check those out at otbdiscs.com. I'm loving that disc so much. It's a great control distance driver. And then last but not least, Eagles Wings Disc Golf for the amazing community and support on the road, and just my belief in Jesus. So yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Well, and I know Brandon as well got to maybe share a meal or two and a few beverages up there when I was the last time I was in the Bend area. And what a great guy. He's always been so awesome to talk to, as he's
Absolutely.
every time I've been around him, your name comes up, and obviously always in the highest regard. And I'm sure he's just him and his entire practice and family and everyone else in Oregon just kind of glowing right now and grinning from ear to ear.
I do have something else to say. We had a little thing going this year. He has this nice coffee machine at his office, and every time I go do a workout, after my workout, I get to go have a cup of coffee. And he said that if you win an Elite Series victory this year, I will buy you one of these coffee machines.
Yes!
And that has been weighing over my head all year. And I thought about it before the last round. I'm like, I don't care about the money. I care about winning this coffee machine here and today. And as soon as I tapped out, yeah, it was awesome. We got it ordered. I'm super pumped about it. And Brandon is amazing and got me the coffee machine. So
wow.
Yeah,
awesome. You and Mario can enjoy a cup. That's what he needs, a little extra energy. Cole, you know, I know we've been gushing on you, but it's all heartfelt, and we just genuinely appreciate the sincerity, the maturity, everything that you've given us here tonight. Obviously, I know your card mates and the rest of disc golf and all of your sponsors and your parents certainly appreciate everything that you're putting out into the world. I don't know how somebody can't be. I don't know if there's any Cole haters. They're just silly if they are. So we appreciate everything you're putting out there. We are so just enamored and proud, and it's exciting to see. Nate Dawson and I have obviously talked about you and Ty and everything else that's going on and the success that you guys have had, and then watching you lead up into this last weekend. As I said, it wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when, and it was awesome to see this weekend. So with that, I think we're going to let you go. We appreciate you joining us here tonight. We know that you've been very busy with all these extra interviews and obligations in the media, but that comes with the territory when you're a winner at that level. And this weekend, I look forward. I'll be down in Kentucky in just a few days to see you, and I'm sure we'll be talking about you some more, and everyone's going to keep their eye on you. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Of course, yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a surreal feeling. Something I've always dreamed of for sure my whole life, and just all the encouragement and kind words. Whether it's about maturity in my game, anything like that. I'm just super grateful and thankful for anybody out there who supports me, and you guys. Thank you, Terry, for having me on here. Really awesome, great interview, guys. I love those questions, and I want to share my journey with the world too. So, yeah. Thanks.
Well, we appreciate it. One last time, congratulations to you, Cole, on winning the Ledgestone Open. We'll see you in a couple days down there in Kentucky. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Have a good night.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
I'm starting to come around on him.
Yeah. Did something win you over there?
I don't know.
He's all right.
He's all right. I mean, being young and good at disc golf and smart and well-spoken, those are all, I mean,
but now he's got coffee machine, which you don't drink.
I don't drink coffee, so.
But maybe he'll make up, he could probably
I did see him on social media take a big drink of Dr. Pepper out of the trophy, and I can respect that. I like me some Dr. Pepper.
Somebody was saying that's what he should fill it up with, so. Wow, awesome. Thank you to all of our Smashies out there who have been tuning in, a solid audience here, and hope everyone, of course, in the aftermath of listening to it via audio later on. Hope you guys enjoyed that time with Cole. And again, we moved it up. I had said, hey, we're at 9 o'clock Central. That's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. And yes, we've had, starts that late with other East Coast guests and or Eastern time zone guests. And I could respect and understand certainly that he's on a routine, he's on a regimen. He wants
takes
to get
it seriously, which is good to see.
Takes everything, yes, very seriously.
At 18, you and I would not have. At 18, you and I were doing different things.
We were playing disc golf, but not like that.
No one's playing disc golf like that these days.
No.
No surprise, throughout the season, I'd called him the streakiest player on tour.
Yeah. I mean,
because we had seen him
together birdies like no one else.
He strung them. He would string them together like 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row, and then put them in groups. His problem always was doing it consistently for multiple rounds. He would have one of those phenomenal rounds, and then follow it up with like a 10-10 or a 10-15 rated round. He got it done this weekend. Every single round. I mean, he started out the first round, he was down by 2 strokes to Ezra and Calvin, I believe. Yeah, it was Ezra and Calvin were at 12, and he was at 10. But he there were a few 11s as well. Dickerson and Proctor were at 11s. But after that, it was he just kept it moving, shooting a 9 down at Northwood, following up with then a 3 down at Northwood, which in different conditions, but still a very good.
Well, I think only 5 or 6 was hot round.
Yeah, Casey White and Ricky Wysocki both shot 5s, and then that put him in position to be up by 4 strokes going into that final round. And like he said, that has to be so intimidating, knowing you're up a couple strokes and watching Ricky Wysocki probably drain 50-foot putts in the practice green like they're nothing, because we've all seen him do it. Yeah. Sit in the practice green and just drain putts. That has to be intimidating, and he handled it with phenomenal grace. Other than falling down one time on the round. We can forgive him for that. But what a great kid, what a great story. And he's going to be like a lot of our young guys, a force to be reckoned with for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and without cheating, I swear, I'm going to guess. I think Ezra Aderhold, actually, I think might hold the most birdies on the tour. If Cole's not second or third, and I have not looked yet, I just know Ezra was holding that stat down for a while. Mm-hmm. If Cole's not second or third, I would be shocked. So I'm going to click a little over.
I think he's up there, but
disagree with me?
I'm going to disagree just because
on birdie count.
A birdie count. Just because those streaky rounds he's had. He has an occasional round where he just doesn't perform. I think it's probably Ezra, Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny, I skipped the tour leader.
Yeah, you skipped the tour leader.
All right. So you don't have to go any farther.
All right.
He is 13th in birdie percentage.
Yeah.
He's still impressive.
Oh, 100%. He just has those rounds. 45%
of the holes he's played, he has birdied. I just think of when there's times, I think of a Texas earlier in the year, where it's like, oh, here's 12 birdies out of 13 holes. Or
here's a course record.
Yeah,
he just shoots them. Like, he'll just walk up after, he'll be in 15th or 17th place. Hey, guess what? Cole shot a course record, which isn't surprising anymore, and now he's in 6th. That is the story. Yeah. That was the story of Cole up until this event. And to see him get over that, now maybe this is a consistency he's found, because it's not like he did it on a specific style of course. This and GMC are probably the 2 events that have like the best variety of courses, because you've got more of an open course and a wooded course at both events. So you have to look at that and think, he's got to be one of your favorites for Worlds. He's got to be up there in that maybe top 5 picks for Worlds based on how he's performed here at this variety of course.
Well, congratulations on a phenomenal performance. We'll talk about the other remaining competitors that weren't winners.
The losers.
Yeah, that's another way to word it. And yes, Cole has birdie, just to put a final point on that. 404 out of the 914 holes this year. That's 44.2%.
If Statmando is out there right now, or if you're out there, Statmando, I would like to know who has the high number of hot rounds. That I could see him having, being up there. Yeah, who has the high number of hot rounds? It's got to be Calvin.
I feel like that stat was actually just posted on.
It might have been. I didn't look. But let's talk about some of our non-winners. Calvin Heimberg takes second place, shooting a 13 under par at Eureka with an ace, and lost ground to our winner. There's no shame to be had from Vinny this week. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you get beat. Vinny got beat.
And Billy, sometimes when you win, you lose.
When you win, you lose. Billy,
you lost all our effing money. Billy.
White Men Can't. Do you know they remade White Men Can't Jump? There's a new version of it, and I haven't seen it, but
there's no way that's worth watching.
It can't be.
All right. Anyway, go on.
In third place, Ricky Wysocki at 28 under par. In fourth place, honestly, as much as I respected watching Cole, the person I felt I was most impressed with this weekend, Ezra Robinson, because there were multiple times that I felt that he was out of it. Oh man, like that guy, he's such a great tournament going, and then, the third round when he takes a 7 on hole 2. And then you're like, okay, then he fights back and gets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7. And you're like, oh, wow. He pulled himself back into the event. And then the back half of the round, he takes a single, a double in a row. And then again, you're thinking like, meh, bummer. He's still like, poor guy.
Mm-hmm.
He turns around and he gets 2 out of the last 3 and then goes into the final round and shoots a phenomenal round. You can see that he's still struggling with a little bit of putting. Some of his short putts came up short, which if you're throwing short putts, they shouldn't come up short. And he had a little bit of control issue here and there at Northwood, but honestly, I was really impressed with Ezra Robinson this week, just how he fought back multiple times when I kind of almost counted him out. Hands down, the best brother combo we've seen on tour, Ezra and Isaac. I mean, there's been other talks about, the Ulibarri brothers. Pete has never really been on tour. He's a great player, but right now, the way Ezra and Isaac are playing, it hasn't been since probably when we were younger and the Martin brothers that a duo like this has been
Don't
this
overlook
good.
the Lissamans.
The Lissamans as well, but that's
going to go back into the
we're going back into the,
Okay.
But we'll give that. Anyway, in fifth place, another DGA sponsored player, Andrew Marweed, and we are not sponsored by DGA, but if they want to send us free stuff, we're always here.
Yeah, we're shills.
We're shills.
Sellouts.
Sixth place, Simon Lazard, who just in general had a pretty good weekend. Such good putting watching Simon this week. I love watching Simon putt. His really good friend in seventh place, Casey White, lose the mustache. In eighth place, Chris Dickerson. In ninth place, James Proctor. In 10th place, Adam Hammis. So congratulations to your top 10 in the MPO field. And do you have anything more you want to say about MPO at all before we move over to FPO?
I don't know if there's anything that else needs to be said. I mean, seeing Casey White, I feel like have the weekend that he did overall certainly was impressive. That I don't know how many people had him picked necessarily. I guess there's ways you could go out and look for that, whether that's, a program like skipace.com for all your fantasy disc golf needs.
All of them.
Or if you look at like the Grip 6 picks, Casey, there's maybe a side story about some of the evening shenanigans, but Casey White, not necessarily a guy you were like, oh yeah, I'm putting him in my top 5 or my top 10.
Not at all. And
that's no disrespect to Casey. I don't know if Casey puts himself necessarily there. So to see him have the weekend that he did was great to see. I love Casey. Got time with him off the course and even on the course. Heck, maybe as a quick side note, we always talk about, I'm sure at home you're yelling at your TV when you're saying, oh, you shouldn't be talking to the players during the round, or this should happen, or this shouldn't happen, or the walk and talks, whatever. We were in the backup on hole number 12, which is no surprise to anyone. There was a huge backup.
I got a take on that later.
Was that round 2 or 3? I think it doesn't matter. We're in the backup, and it was at that point, I'm looking around, and my producer's in my ear saying, hey, is there someone we could talk to? Do you want to talk? And he named off a few of the players. I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to ask them. No, I know their personality. Mm-hmm. Mid-round is not the time to have a conversation with some of them. And then I saw Casey standing like, Casey would love to probably talk. Casey's just very easygoing in that sense. And that's something that I knew wouldn't frustrate or upset or distract him. Of course, then I walked up to him, though, beforehand. I said, hey, if we have time to do a little, segment here during the backup, would you want to talk live with me? He's like, yeah. I don't even know if I finished the sentence. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to, which is awesome. That's why I asked him.
Casey's like Germ used to be. Germ was always the same way back in the day.
Yeah, some players
love to talk and communicate and maybe take their mind off the golf.
Yeah, some players like that and embrace that more than others. And being around a lot of these players for a lot of years, I generally have a pretty good idea. And so then I reported it back in. I said, hey, we can talk to Casey. And then we ended up having Casey. Anyway, so just if you're at home screaming, saying, because I'm sure there were. I guarantee
there are people,
were people
but you know
that
what?
are screaming about that, and I'm just giving you the full story.
No one is ever forced to be on camera.
How that came about. So it was great. And so anyway, nice work, Casey. With all that being said, slide right on over to the FPO.
Before we do that, and I promise I'll get there, Evan Kearns from Statmando chimes in. By the way, I have an Evan Kearns card from Brixton. It's not signed, but it's for sale. I will not take less than $300 for it.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that's a steal, probably.
No, it's here.
But
here's my $400
number.
I won't take it from you without giving you at least $400.
Oh, geez. Okay. Evan Kearns says hot rounds this season. Calvin with 7, Gannon Burr with 6, Isaac Robinson and Cole Redalen at 5. So he is in third place. He's right there with those hot rounds.
No surprise.
And then Ricky and Aaron for so on and so on and so on. Congratulations. Thank you, Evan, for getting us that information. It's much appreciated. Let's talk about the FPO. Missy Gannon wins this by 4 strokes over Owen Scoggins. Missy just very consistent the entire event. There was at one point Owen as well kind of had that comeback as well. She had fallen down into like 5th or 6th place at one point and then fought herself back on the back 9 of Northwood, where she birdied 6 out of the last 9 holes. Or 6 out of the last 10 holes. She did have a bogey in there, but in order to push herself back up to get to 4 under that round and get into that second place of where she's been very consistent. And she probably had, if you get the chance to watch Tournament Central on, I believe it's the 3rd day, they do an own interview. Maybe it's even the final day. Go back and watch that after FPO. And in general, she gives the best interviews, but it was hilarious. Just her thanking Kristen Tatar for not being there and just Own being Own. And I would really love to see, we've got Idlewild and D-Glow coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I would love to see Own get a Elite Series win at one of those two. And she's very capable.
Yeah.
But it's just that much easier when Kristen Tatar isn't in the field. So ultimately, Missy Gannon, like I said, wins this over Owen Scoggins. And then in 3rd place, Sarah Hokum. Now we're getting to places. This is our, now that we're on the East Coast, Terry, everything from Peoria over.
Yep.
Now that we're getting towards our East Coast swing, Sarah Hokum, as always, every year starts showing up in our leaderboards more and more frequently. She is a technician in the woods. She can shape shots like almost better than anybody in the field, especially with a forehand. So Sarah Hokum ties with Ella Hansen in 3rd place. In 5th place, Maria Oliva, Macy Veladiaz. In 7th place, Holland Hanley. 8th place, Holly Finley. 9th place, Jen Allen. And tie for 10th between Alexis Mondahano and Haley King. That is your top 10 plus in the FPO field. Again, just as in general, Missy plays very comfortably here. She has done well. This is her second consecutive win here. I don't know what else to say other than she's really good, and she's a great putter.
Yeah, and I feel like she put it on display every single round this weekend. I remember so many times, if you haven't noticed, often I will be out there watching a drive, kind of waiting to see if there's anything to talk about with regards to the drive or a lie. And then at some point I start to walk away to get ahead to the next hole, just like a catch cameraman would do. So I'm looking at where she landed and thinking about, wow, is that a makeable putt? You know, what's probably, and then I hear Ian and Zoe still in my ear and or I could check UDisc and I hear, and it just felt like every time I walked away, I eventually got to the point where I was like, oh, well, I'm not even going to, I don't even need to wonder.
Hang around and watch.
She's going to make it. And we talk all the time about how good of a putter she is, and that's nothing new. This weekend, it felt like it was just there through and through, which was awesome. And the other quick side note to that, and I know you just talked about Sarah Holcomb's and prowess and what she normally does in the more technical courses. I was shocked to hear in my ear at one point this weekend, Ian and Zoe talking about this is Sarah's first podium finish in a year, which
I mean, I know
if you've been around for a little while, you just know,
yeah,
like that sounds surprising that it's true. And I know how competitive FPO is. I've watched it for the last 15 or 20 years, so I know this.
Mm-hmm.
You put Sarah Holcomb in the top 3, somewhere in the top 3 for the better part of a number of years, 5, 6, 8 years. She could sometimes get past a Pierce, sometimes get past a Katrina Allen, but it was usually like those were the 3 names. Obviously, that has had a shakeup.
That's
in the
Elite
last couple
Series
years.
only, because she took second at a silver event.
Correct.
And she took, I think, 2/4 at other DGPT events.
But just to hear that was her first time in a year on the podium at an Elite Series event, I was like, wow. And immediately all my mind thought was, damn, it is so competitive. For someone who you would put in the top 3 almost every single weekend, and things continue to get feisty out there. So congrats to all of them. Missy taking advantage of the love and the vibes and the support and everything that she feels there. Of course, she loves showing up for her sponsors at that particular event. And I know I always think, at least in a press conference situation, hey, do you feel there's any added pressure? Is there anything you have to prove? And they always say, no, there's not. But damn, it's got to feel good to show up to one of the largest paychecks. Where Discraft and Ledgestone are your 2 primary sponsors, and they're the sponsors of this event in the biggest capacity, and then taking it down. So just can't say enough. Congrats to her, and we'll see what the battle looks like come Idlewild, because there are so many contenders on any given weekend, and if Own
and Idlewild
take
is
advantage of
Northwood.
technical,
Idlewild is Northwood Black Light.
Yeah, it's outside of one relatively open hole 16. Outside of that, you're playing pretty much every shot in the woods. So we'll see what happens.
Because this is the place we talk about it. We'll quickly talk about the media. As far as Northwood Black and coverage, yes, the coverage was much, much improved at Northwood Black, that front 9. Now, it wasn't perfect. We were very good at keeping some of the worst cameras off camera. We had multiple lead card cameras to help bounce around in case one of the cameras maybe wasn't performing well. There are times you might notice, like, oh man, why didn't he cut to the catch camera there? Might be because the catch camera wasn't showing us what we wanted to show. But what we were getting is 100 times better than what we've had in the past, which is 0. It is a combination of a lot of hard work and money put in to the broadcast equipment, as well as, probably, as we say every year, maybe some improvements in the area for cell signal. That's always getting better, but the equipment that they put in, as they're calling them, the cheeseburgers, the private network. At one point, I heard our on-course guys saying, hey, run over to hole 3 and move the antennas and face them this direction now. So they were constantly making sure to point the antennas in the best spots to where the cameras are for the best signal. Huge shout out to the guys on the ground for making the front 9 watchable. Because, as I said, it wasn't before, and it was the guys on the ground and the tournament staff themselves, who I know have worked weeks or months prior to this to get an option. I heard they ran a couple thousand feet of fiber to make sure between the stations and getting it back to wherever the backhaul was. Just a phenomenal job, and my hat's off. I'm wearing a hat today, which I rarely do, but I'm not going to actually take it off. But symbolically, hats off to everyone who made that possible. It's such a better experience getting to see those front 9 than come in on the back 9 when all you're seeing is scores.
Yeah. Well, I'll just reiterate that the relationship of the pro tour, along with all the people and the boots on the ground and the staff and the crew, clearly both of them have to continue to work together to find the best possible solution if Northwood Black is going to be in play. And we all know that we love seeing the golf and the challenge that it presents. It's just frustrating for everyone, truly, that the signal gets challenged so much there. But to have what we did this year, like you said, just a massive, massive improvement out there on the course. So, like you, again, figuratively said, hats off to the Ledgestone crew, the city of Morton or the village of Morton, whatever they are. I know that I'm sure they were involved in some significant capacity. And then, of course, the Disc Golf Network. Everybody, all hands on deck, so to speak.
And with that being said, now my hot take. Northwood Black shouldn't be on the tour.
Oh, no. What?
What? It's unacceptable to have a 40-minute backup on a hole. Period.
Yeah, it sucks.
No, it doesn't suck. It's unacceptable.
Oh.
Like,
well,
and then on top of that, hole 14 could be a 20-minute backup as well. They need to make changes. You either need to make hole 12 shorter, which nobody's going to like, or, and I know Nate Heinold hates to hear this, you need to cut that field. 150 people is too many. I think there were 147 this year. Because that course is, like it or not, a 1,010 minimum rated course as far as the player that should be on that course. The more players you have, the longer that's going to be, the longer that backup is. If you cut a third of the players out, go down to only 100 players, you're able to get those foursomes, spread them out a little bit more. It will alleviate the backup. Something needs to be done because literally it is unacceptable to have players, and it sucks for media as we get there and sit, and then we're fighting, watching our guys have to get down the fairway, but there's players playing, and then we're waiting, and all right, we're just going to show 4 commercials here, and I mean it's kind of good because we get in a bunch of sponsors, but in general, the players also, that can't be great for them. They can't love that, where they now, all right, we're going to sit here, and we're going to sit here for 30 minutes while we watch other people throw and hit trees, and there's nothing more frustrating. And I felt it back here from a camera perspective. I can't imagine the players when you're watching this group that's the third card throw, and they hit a tree and kick way right, and you're like, oh, that is good. We know that's going to be an extra 10 minutes now. Just something has to be done. If not, take this awesome, phenomenal course off the tour. And again, I don't want to see it leave the tour, but I also don't want to see us go back and have that type of thing. I used to say maybe take it off tour because it couldn't be covered very well. I think we've alleviated that problem, and now we need to look at the number of players going through there, or maybe at minimum, the quality of players, because there's some 960, 970, 980 rated players that go through there. The backups start immediately. No one gets through that quickly unless we have a field of all Ricky Wysocki's. Because Ricky's the only one who birdied it both days. So if everyone played like Ricky, then great. But unfortunately, they don't all play like Ricky. Some of them play like you and I, and that's not good.
Yeah, the difference is, even if it did take me 9 shots, I'd play it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you are a fast player. Me too. So.
But at face value, I do not disagree that it sucks in terms of the weights and everything that goes along with it. I'm right in that same camp. Nobody loves a backup of any kind. Are they inevitable at a certain hole at a certain point to some degree? Yes. Does it become absurd when, like you're saying, it's a 30 or 40-minute backup? It does. Yeah, it feels. And like you said, this is multifaceted because it is terrible for the broadcast ultimately, and it's terrible for the players, everyone that's trying to come. And it's also, and I know this is going to sound like a real maybe John Madden moment almost, but not only are you waiting for the backup, getting cold, standing around, doing all these things, whatever, to pass the time, then you have to go execute some of the most difficult shots of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're cooling off all just to then go play some of the most difficult, the most difficult hole out there.
And 12
That's
is the
funny.
iconic hole on the course. That's the hole everybody knows. Long turnover off the tee.
Mhm.
Second shot, make it over the bridge. Third shot, try to make it to the hill or maybe up the hill. Fourth shot, throw it to the basket. Again, if you're Ricky, you can cut one of those out, and then tap it in. That's great. We can't have this. We cannot keep doing this over and over. And Vinny, during the press conference, even said, this course now is easier. They cut out some of the underbrush, and we still had these kind of weights on 12 and 14.
Yeah, and unfortunately, 12 and 14 weren't, as far as I could tell, weren't impacted nearly the way like holes 7 or 9 are. So 12 or 14 got really any easier. And even someone on the board is suggesting, well, maybe they're playing the hole wrong. You should blah, blah, blah. I don't care what if you throw a mid and you're trying to throw it 280 feet and you clip still the tiniest branch and you kick 20 feet off the fairway, it doesn't matter if that was a mid at 60% power or a driver at 100% power, 20 feet off the fairway. If that's the result, it's going to suck. Like, I'm not second guessing how they're going after the hole. The fact is it's a very tight line, or an entirety of tight lines. And as soon as you hit something and you kick off the fairway, you just have to throw that many more shots. I could care less about the quote unquote strategy for how they're going about it. It's a very difficult and demanding hole to play. And even the best in the world occasionally will hit a tree or 10 on that one.
Yeah, I saw a social media post by Bradley Williams. I think it was Bradley Williams. Maybe it was Ezra Aderhold that were just jokingly saying, we're counting the number of tree hits, and I'm up to 20. And that was on the course in general, not necessarily that hole.
Okay,
but it could have been that hole.
That doesn't sound crazy, though.
No,
20 on the course.
I don't know what point they were on the course, though. That could have been hole 3. That could have been hole 3 or 4.
They're in trouble.
But and again, I don't want to see this course off the tour. I do think something needs to be done. And to me, the easiest way is cut the field. And I know that hurts because Nate Heinold loves to have a lot of people there. He loves the bragging rights of having the biggest event. Each one of those 50 people paid $225 to be there, or whatever that number is, whatever the number is these days. So that's a big chunk of purse. That's a couple grand. And that you don't want to take that out of the purse. And I understand all of that. I just, year after year now, I've seen and said
and for
this.
better or worse, just as to put finally put a button on this, for better or worse, for a couple years when we were coming in on the back 9, we'd start on hole 10 because that's when we got signal, but then we'd get to hole 12 with the backup.
Wait.
So it's like, hey, we just started off the broadcast, ready to give you live disc golf. Oh,
and
here's a 4-group backup. So that made it even worse at the time, I feel like. And now at least you've watched 10 or 11 holes of golf before we get to it. But I'd be curious to know what not only Nate and the Ledgestone crew, how their rebuttal to your
hot take,
your hot take, but then also what the Pro Tour and the Tour crew, because there's multiple entities.
Sure.
No one makes unilaterally all of the decisions for these Elite Series events. Obviously, different parties have different input. I'd be curious to know what both parties think of it.
And I kind of feel, I'll tell you, I know how the control room feels because we all talked about it. But coming into Idlewild, the KY hole, it's kind of similar. It's not as bad. It's not hole 12 Northwood Black bad.
It's hole 13 at Idlewild.
It's hole 13 at Idlewild. There's usually like a 1 to 2 group back up there because that hole is so different now in that you got to get through the Y, but on top of it, it's just the right distance where you can drive the green, but most people don't. So inevitably, everybody's getting there, getting down, pitching up to the green, so everybody has to wait. You can't. It's not like a par 4 where you could play on somebody. It can't happen. And so I kind of feel the same way about the KY hole, but not nearly to the extent because the backups aren't quite as bad. But I still feel like any hole on tour that consistently gives you a 2-card or more backup, something needs to be adjusted. And that's how, and I'll say that about any course, any event, any tour stop. I think that we need to make sure we have a good flow. Part of being a good course is having good course flow. Because imagine you put together the best imaginary course in the world with some of the best holes on tour. You're talking a 5.5 to 7 hour round because some of those are the hardest holes on tour, and you would just have backup after backup after, and then put 150 people on it. I just want consistency, and I'm not picking on Northwood Black too much. I feel that way about all courses. So anyway, that's my Northwood Black hot take. And if you don't, or you do agree with me, you can obviously make a comment in our YouTube. We kind of check that once in a while, not only the live chat, but our the YouTube comments on the broadcast.
All right. That's what we saw. Do we want to recap? Was there any other significant...
The only other thing that I saw someone bring up was Sarah Hokum calling Owen Scoggins on a time violation. Now, Terry, do you have any information on that we didn't necessarily see, or could you recap the situation a little bit?
Unfortunately, I was down the fairway in this particular situation. We're talking about hole number 15 at Sunset, and I believe it was round 3. I think it was, not round 2. It would have been round 2 or 3, but I believe it was 3. And Owen Scoggins, after throwing what I believe was her second, she was trying to line up maybe for her third shot. She was off to the right inside or near a really big bush area off to the right side of the fairway. I remember watching it go in that direction thinking, that's not going to be good. I was a couple 100 feet away. I was down near the pin. And only through the commentary and some of our offline chat was I alerted that Sarah had made it mention possibly to Owen something about a time warning or violation or something of that nature. And I essentially had repeated that, but I was not physically standing there for it. And when I did chime in, what I said is it is kind of funny that we have this unwritten rule / understanding seemingly that when players are finding themselves, because players often exceed 30 seconds when it comes to difficult lies.
Mm-hmm.
The best players, the worst players, and everyone in between often exceed 30 seconds when you're talking about finding your lie, getting into your lie, taking your stance, and lining up your shot. I would say damn near every single player in the tournament at one time has certainly exceeded 30 seconds due to a difficult lie. So it feels as if there's this additional understanding or patience when people are clearly faced with a difficult lie, and not most people won't say anything about it, or almost don't even think about it, is what I would say. That's been always my perception. When time violations become egregious and or obvious and frustrating is when someone is standing over an open lie
mm-hmm.
and is just taking again, exceeding their 30 seconds, and is just blatantly doing it for what seems either like a wind read or a wind shift, or just an amount of pump fakes. And we all know who our usual suspects are in that. And it's not to pick on them. It's just that's what usually happens.
Do you think that the time violation should have been called? I know you didn't see it.
Well, and what I'll say, did she probably take a really long time? I'm guessing she did, because I remember standing there. Again, I'm a couple 100 feet away.
She was in a tree-ish, a tree or a bush, mm-hmm. in there pretty deep. My understanding is she, you have 30 seconds from when you establish, basically what is the exact wording? Because I just read it. More or less when you've gotten to your tee gotten to your lie and assessed your position, assessed your lie. more or less is what it is.
Addressed.
Not addressed, assessed.
Okay.
So now there is a little bit of play in there. And I'm sorry because I didn't see it, and I didn't have a chance to go back and dig it up to see it on the thing. My understanding is she was in the right to call it because Owen was taking over 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, the odds are nobody else would have made that call. And I don't blame Sarah for making. I'm not here to rag on Sarah.
No,
I don't know what Sarah. If
here, I'll just
go for
put it out there blatantly, and I'll link this, and then I'll read. 802.03 excessive time. A player has taken excessive time if they are present and have not thrown within 30 seconds. 1, after the previous player is thrown, which obviously. 2, after they had a reasonable amount of time to arrive at and determine the lie.
Determine, not
3,
assess.
after they are next in throwing order. And 4, in which the playing area remains clear. So all of those would indicate that she was ready to go, that your 30 seconds would be started. And then it says, B, a player who takes excessive time receives a warning for the first violation.
Which is what she got.
A player who takes excessive time after that, after being warned for it during the round, receives 1 penalty throw. And then it goes on to say a player may request extra time for using the bathroom, which is also, again, something that's been amended in the last few years, which I love to see. Obviously, nobody should be punished if they have to run off and use a restroom, and they're given reasonable time to do so. So Hannah Macbeth is on the board, and I'm just going to read because, as she says, she was right there for it. Hannah Macbeth was standing near the actual, the actual conversation, and now all of a sudden, I want to read it verbatim here.
This is what Hannah says. She did take a while, but it was toward the end of the round, so not too many more holes to be called on. Everyone was cool about it and moved on quickly. There was no bad blood or awkward tension or anything like that.
Yeah. Then Hannah also just says, it was nice to see the rules upheld and received so well. I think there are too many horror stories out there and it gets awkward.
Yeah. And I don't believe, like I said, I don't believe Sarah Hokum did anything malicious. I don't believe you call the violations that you see, and if Owen was in violation of the time, there's nothing wrong with giving her a warning on that.
Yeah, and
I personally, it probably would have not crossed my mind. I don't know if it would have crossed your mind, just based on the lie. You're right. If someone's digging themselves into a tree to get a lie, everybody seems to have like a little bit of padding on those 30 seconds.
I feel like it comes down to how does it feel in the moment, because almost everyone's going to exceed the 30 seconds. The question is, and again, I didn't see it, so I should go back and watch it. Did she go in and out 9 times? Did she make 6 disc swaps? Because at a certain point, you're like, all right, just throw. Like, of course, if you have a difficult lie getting in there, I'm game with all of that. It's then, do you then, are you wishy-washy for the next 2 minutes as to what you're going to do when you clearly have your lie and it sucks, but you're just not deciding what to do? That's when I think at a certain point, everyone has an internal trigger of like, okay, what's going on? There was another instance, and I'm glad I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody that was somebody else this weekend when I was following along, and I don't even remember if it was men's or women, but I remember somebody getting into a lie and just thinking, okay, your lie sucks, 100%. Took you a little while to get in there, got it. Now you're just taking forever to decide which line you want to throw. Once you're in there, once you've established it, and you have your 2 or 3 or 4 discs with you, and you're still taking forever, that's where I personally felt like, okay, let's go here. So,
all right, just a situation I thought I'd bring up that was discussion on a couple of social media boards, and obviously our board had brought it up. So I wanted to get your opinion or take on it.
I totally agree with Hannah in that it's good to see the rules upheld.
Yes.
It's good to see that Owen took it well, as you should, because it's clearly shouldn't be made a personal thing anytime we have some of these rules. I do like to see that. Some people have, the longer conversation for another day is some people say, hey, you should be able to clarify or call for an extension like twice per round. If we stick with 30 seconds, because that doesn't feel like enough, maybe once or twice or 3 times a round, you can just call out extension on time. That I know has been talked about for many years.
It's not in the upcoming next year's rules, but I wouldn't have a problem with that. If you're looking at, there was one point at Northwood Black Own on hole 12 went down into the ditch. Like she hit the trees on the right and fell straight down into the very center of the ditch. So she had to walk down there, find the disc, and then get a lie and throw up to the next landing zone. And all I was thinking there was like, ugh, I wouldn't want to do that. That's going to take a while to find a disc, and that's going to take a while to get a lie, and that could take a while to assess because Own couldn't see the fairway. Which is really funny, she had to go down, so she was way down in the ditch. It's against the rules to tell like somebody else, hey, go stand in the middle of the fairway and use you as a spot. Yeah. You can't do that. So all I was thinking is like, what if she just like ran up to see where she wants to throw? I think she talked to somebody about kind of the direction she had pointed, and they had said yes or no about where she wanted to throw. She ended up going off to the left into the trees and had another poor lie, which then she went off to the right and into the tree. Then she kind of played army golf for a little bit, but just interesting rule situations that we don't often see, and I hope that we see. I hope we see people calling more people. I don't necessarily hope we see people calling more violations or more people calling Own.
Yeah, a willingness.
But a willingness is the way to have it.
I would go as far as to say there is an ounce of irony that if I were to, and I don't think this isn't offensive. I don't think so. If I were to list FPO competitors and time violations or near time violations or on the slower side, I would put Sarah near the top of that list.
Yeah, she takes all 29 and a half seconds sometimes.
And sometimes more. And I can say that because I have filmed dozens or walked along for dozens or hundreds of rounds with a camera. And I'm not saying she's necessarily habitual with it, but if I had to make a list, I would put her on the slower side of the division in terms of time. So I think others who feel that way found some irony in the call that she's making a call on another player being slow. But as we said,
real funny regarding time and slow cards. I believe it was the final round we were playing, and at one point, the chase card had gotten backed up. And we were like, oh, gosh, how did they get backed up? And someone goes, on the card is Chris Dickerson, Nicola Castro, and Joel Freeman. And I was like, oh, that's 3 29.5-second players right there. Or as we know, maybe more. And it was, all of those players are very meticulous and I don't say monotonous, but meticulous with their pre-shot warm-ups. And it's maybe the other one was Hammis too on that card. I think it might have been Hammis, who sometimes can be that way as well. So it was no surprise that the chase card at one point did catch the third card and in the control, and we all kind of chuckled. And we were fortunate as the lead card did not really ever have a backup. We were able to fly through pretty quickly. I think there was only 1 or 2 minor backups on that final round, so it was good. But we all laughed when we heard what card was causing the backup, and we're like, oh yeah, we've all covered them. We all know what they do.
Yeah. All right. Yes, we can move on from that. And asked on the board, which is a little more after show fodder, I did get my Brixton cards. They showed up during the weekend while I was gone. I have not even opened the box or boxes or the individual boxes or packs of cards yet. That's going to have to be maybe a next week endeavor at this point, but they did show up.
I got my last box in the mail yesterday. It's sitting upstairs, which I will not open. That's going to be my sealed. I always keep one sealed box of them. It's going to go right in my box of boxes of disc golf cards.
It's just all...
it's all gold packs in that one. That's what I heard. It was
in them,
an error box with just nothing but gold signature Terry cards. It's really strange.
Yeah, that's what you can do. No. All right.
I hope not.
Great. Our producer says, checking in solely to see if you got a chance to talk Welcome Home time violation.
Rewind, Mo, about
about 3 minutes.
4 to 5 minutes. We did talk about it briefly.
Yeah, and we're out of time on that. And then you say, how long ago so I can get your takes? Literally 5 minutes ago.
Not a lot of hot takes here.
Conversation. Don't you have other things to do, Mo? Like send me the right link to this weekend's stuff. I almost emailed you back and said, hey, I know you use a template, Mo, when you're sending out stuff for the production, but adjust the template to be right for this weekend. I got a link to some Ledgestone stuff. All right, there's my rant on our producer.
Oh, Mo.
Jace. All right, anything else we want to talk about? PDJ news, our directors, was that since last week?
Yeah, we announced that last week.
We announced that last week. Congrats to all of them. Our provincial coordinators, our state coordinators. Enough of you didn't vote. I already said that. 14.39% was voter turnout. So you got nothing to blame but yourselves.
Yeah, we talked all about this last week.
So yeah, I just want to drive that point home. 14 point something voter turnout. Okay.
Yep. And just so we know, I know we talked about the proposed rules changes, but there is now that you can. I think there's a few new ones. This is an article. Or no, I'm sorry. Now the public comments are open, is what it is for the competition revisions.
Okay.
So that you can look on the PDGA site for that.
All right.
Other than that, I ain't got much else, Terry. That was Ledgestone. It kind of eats up the entire disc golf world.
4-round event, 2 sets of courses, 3 total courses? 4 courses? How many did we play? 4 different courses, kind of, sort of, with Northwood being. Yeah, it was a long weekend. Of course, the weather did hit. In case you guys didn't know, things got shifted on Sunday, up about an hour and a half to 2 hours, roughly. Everything
to beat the worst of the...
Yeah, to try and miss the nasty stuff that was going to come through. It didn't come through quite as early as like 5 or 6 originally when it talked about it. It ended up coming through like an hour and a half to 2 hours after that. But nonetheless, it was all those precautions made to move things up so things get done a little bit quicker on Sunday. Again, hats off to Seth Muncie, who uses some really fancy, like industry grade stuff that's right there with MLB and NFL. He uses various programs and services that I think like 5 figures are spent on some of these programs and services for the Disc Golf Pro
I just
Tour.
have a website called like lightningstrike.org or something.
Well, yeah, it's just as good as that.
Okay.
And then Seth Muncie also is in direct communication with, I think, national and local meteorologists. So clearly, player, staff, volunteer, safety, all paramount. And you're sitting at home saying, "Oh, so-and-so doesn't know what they're talking about." No, there's people that are doing real work out there and trying to do their best. And it sometimes goes overlooked.
And the last thing we'll talk about before we go into our after show, the only other big event this weekend was overseas. It's the Finnish National Championships. Obviously, this is a big event in Finland. It was in Lahti, Finland. Winning this one was Niklas Antila at 20 under, beating Rasmus, Otto, and Piri. So congratulations. And Lori Lettinen. Those were all tied for third. But the bigger story, I think, was in FPO, which was Heidi Laine wins this one. She shot 17 over par, tied with Evelina Salonen. Third place was Silva Saarinen, and fourth place was Henna Blomroos. Now, the interesting part is, I believe someone said for like the last 7 years, which seems like a lot considering their ages, it was either Evelina or Henna winning this event. So to have somebody new come and win, and it went to a playoff with Evelina, where Heidi won. So it's a lot of talent over on the FPO side over in Finland.
Yeah, and also
exciting.
It's great to see when we read off those names. Those are all 4 names that you recognize and have seen, whether it's the Disc Golf Pro Tour or a tour over there somewhere in Europe, the Euro Tour or whatever, all the different tours. Like, we're getting to a point where our international FPO player and MPO player names are truly becoming household names because we've seen them here, and then we see what they're, how they succeed over there. It's pretty cool to see. Very exciting. All right. Well, I think with that being said, we could go ahead and we can call it. This has been episode 466. It's been awesome talking to Cole Redalen, the 18-year-old that has picked up the Elite Plus event.
He's too nice.
Just so incredibly nice. Skips winning an A tier. Skips winning a Silver Series. Skips winning...
So not Silver Series, you owe $1.
Whatever names you guys... don't even get me going on it. No, I'm not wrong though. He didn't win a silver series.
You're right. He did not win a silver series.
He didn't win a silver event either. He didn't win any non-elite plus, non-elite, blah 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 blah, whatever 100 other names we're gonna start giving our distinctions.
But the most important is he won a unified event.
Yes, that is most important. Thank you, Cole Redalen, for joining us. Thank you to all the love and the support. Again, being on site, I get showered with so much support and love for us here at Smashbox, as well as the Disc Golf Guy channel. So we certainly appreciate all of it, including Vance, Tom McManus, a few of our Smashies, Zach Pajak, who's out there. So many of our Smashies that are regulars at some of these Midwestern events, especially. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's 466. We're going to take a quick break, and in just a few moments, we'll be back with our after show. We'll see you then. You stepped inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 466's
After Show! Somebody on our board made a comment just now, saying that they would love to see ESPN cover not just like a couple highlights, but, actually showing Cole's putt for the win. And it brought back a memory of a bet you and I had many years ago.
How many?
2019.
Okay.
On June 17th, 2019, or maybe it was 2018, we had made some sort of bet saying that there would be a winning putt on ESPN. The notes I have were, has there been a winning putt shown on ESPN? Were Terry and Yuli wrong?
Ooh.
And I see a reminder on 2019, 2020, and 2021.
Yeah, I said by 2029. It'd be a 10-year bet.
I don't think you said that. I think you said in the next 3 years.
Oh, maybe.
Which is why I have a 3-year reminder. And we have not seen that on ESPN. So I want to point it out that
But have we looked?
Yeah, I think
Have you been watching ESPN every day?
To be fair, I haven't watched ESPN every day.
See? So
I would think maybe it would be on, that someone would notice it.
Plausible deniability or something like that.
So I just want to say that this did not come to fruition. We thought we'd see it sometime by 2021. It is now 2023. And you officially lose the bet, which I don't know what the bet was, but I'm sure it was worth a lot of money. It's probably a couple grand you owe me now.
Yes.
So I would appreciate if you pay up, and
I will just take it out of Cole's winnings.
Okay, that's good. Do you feel like in 3 years we'll see that?
I was just going to say, obviously I must have felt and that was pre-pandemic, which is even funnier. I feel like it could happen still on any given day now. Like, you think about what we just saw from Cole, an 18-year-old getting his first big win for $12,500. I know it's not earth-shattering money, but $12,500, which 10 years ago was an insane number to us. I don't know why not, especially when we do have these potential storylines. An 18-year-old Cole, now an 18-year-old Gannon Burr. When we get to the Tour Championships, maybe more specifically, or the Worlds, there's no reason we couldn't see a Worlds tap in or a Worlds winning putt. Does it have to be dramatic? Maybe that's the next question. You talked to Cole in the regular show and said, hey, you didn't need to make a 32-footer under pressure to win on the final hole. You could lay up and you had a tap in for par and to win by 5. If given the right situation, the right pressure, I stand by the idea that it wouldn't be crazy to be a highlight side piece that they get 60-ish seconds on. I guess I don't know how the math works there, but I'm just going to say 60-ish seconds on, hey, check this out. 18-year-old Cole Redalen, wins the world championships with this 29-foot putt. They went in tied on the final hole, and he won 20 grand. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. Will it validate us anymore at this point? Nah, that was a cooler gesture to us maybe 10 years ago. It would still be cool, but I don't know. I don't think it's crazy.
Okay. Do you think it'll happen? Let's
in the next 3 years.
And then we're going to give 3 more years because
I still do. I really do. I think even
so. You were wrong one time.
I was wrong once. I will double down on this bet.
Awesome. I'm going to put an annual.
Okay. Yeah. How about somebody on the board that says, "What about Conrad?" Conrad's not only with a shot, but his winning putt was that featured? Him hoisting the trophy. I bet was.
I mean, we saw the
playoff. Right?
Did we?
I bet you we did.
I don't know.
Yes.
That could be. That could be.
Thank you.
I'm not counting the holy shot as a putt.
No.
But,
and that's not what won it.
Correct.
So I would heel to that technicality. I would bet
it might have been.
Conrad's tap in and celebration must have been shown on ESPN.
It could have
Somebody
been.
Tell me. Somebody find it.
It could have been.
Yes, just when Johnny V thought he had me.
It could have been. That's true. I'm going to put an annual reminder in my calendar as I want to do. Starting tonight, every year, I'm just going to put, have we seen a winning putt on national TV? So, and that's great. If we did see the Conrad winning tap in, awesome. Obviously, that comes along with the whole holy shot deal, and that is an acceptable reason. But yeah, that'd be interesting. It's interesting. So I'm hitting save annually.
I'm on board. I'm gonna say that's the case. I'm
going
to say that it was.
It could have happened.
Because they would have had the holy shot to say that was to force the playoff, and then he'd go on to the first playoff hole.
And it has to be on.
Probably show
yes,
that.
And obviously with, my thing is national TV, some national sports. It can't just be like Cole's local, like local boy does good, and they show a couple highlights from him. I do want to see the on some sort of national sports.
Oh yeah,
show.
Massive J says, well. Again, Scott Van Pelt did the Macbeth round. Was that the final round? And it was. No, it wasn't.
No, his perfect round.
His 18 under wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No.
And
his final putt of that round was on there for sure because it was such an impressive putt.
Again, the thing was winning putt. So, or I consider not necessarily winning putt, but like final putt on hole 18, the tap in putt, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to actually be to win the event, but the final putt, like you would see, whatever. So anyway, it'd be interesting.
Excuse me. Okay.
All right. So Terry Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you. I want to pose to you. Right before you showed up to my house,
yes,
I drove away.
Yeah.
We actually passed each other on the road. I was going to the store. You were coming here. I went to buy, which I don't know if I've ever done before, gone out of my way to buy a lottery ticket. That was the sole reason for going.
That's where you were going.
That's where I went. I went over to the local Sendix. It was a little gas station.
Tuesday.
Yes, the Mega Millions is drawn tonight.
Oh.
So the big one, though, the $1 billion, 1.55 billion. You could be sitting next to a billionaire right now. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I doubt it. I haven't looked. My wallet is right here with them in it.
Oh, and it hasn't grown.
It hasn't expanded or anything like that. But here's the question I pose to you. Let's pretend you won. Whether it was the whole amount, half the amount.
How
you
much
just
is
split
it for?
Right now, it's 1.55 billion.
So probably roughly 1.55. So roughly what 700 million would be the if you just took it
the lump sum.
If I had to guess, okay.
Say somehow you came into that amount. What disc golf thing would you do with that money? I mean, clearly you've set yourself up. You're buying my house, paying for me.
The rest of the Ontario Rocks.
You at that point you own every Ontario Rock. Is that what you would do?
No.
Just is there something specific you would do with that amount of money, disc golf related specifically?
Yeah, at that point.
Because at this point, money means nothing to you.
Yeah, at that point, I would. And it's funny because it's not necessarily a dream for my long-term goals or retirement, but I would assume at that point I would buy an incredible piece of property that would then get developed into 4 to 6 courses.
Okay.
And then employ people, do all of those things that would potentially make for the greatest disc golf destination you could possibly dream of. If I had 700 million lump sum, that's what I would do with it.
Okay. That sounds something. I mean, I'm sure I would probably buy.
Think if it's disc golf related, I wouldn't go try and buy any of the companies. I wouldn't care about any of that.
I don't want to be that.
Yeah. I don't care about frisbee or disc production. I wouldn't start my own tour. I would assume I would buy the land and the property to then create the greatest world-class disc golf destination ever. That's what I think I would do.
Okay.
Let me ask before we go any farther.
And real quick,
can I give you 50 cents? No, how much did your ticket cost?
I think I paid $20. I think I did.
So if I gave you $10 right now, and it hits, we split it.
Oh, without me looking and not knowing if anyone's hit it right now.
I didn't even know it was being drawn, so I clearly don't know what's happened.
Knowing the odds of winning the lottery, and I only bought 20 because I had a $20 bill on me, and
must be nice.
Like I had a 20, a 5, and a bunch of singles, and you have to pay cash for lottery tickets. Statistically, it would make a lot of sense for me to take your $10.
Yeah.
Now, and here is what I will say: if either you or I were to win, I don't think the other is going to be destitute ever.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I'm not giving you shit.
I know. Real quick. The funny. We'll talk about the winning putt real quick. The bet ended on June 17th of 2021. James Conrad won Worlds on June 26th of 2021. So by all legal, I still, even if that is the case, I still won that bet. As funny as that is, it happened literally days after the bet, the 3-year bet ended. But it just, that was, again, I would almost consider that win. If we had real money on it, I wouldn't give you the win because I'm a jerk that way.
No,
but
you're right.
But it was days after that, which is kind of funny.
So it was June. Now do another Google search and tell me. Would you say June 19th or 21st?
The bet ended on June 17th.
Okay, so
of
what
2021.
was June 17th of 19? So I guess my question is, I wonder, a real smash, you would know this, as to what what prompted.
We had, I vaguely remember we had Yuli on, and we were all just talking about the explosion of disc golf at the time and how much bigger with whatever. So maybe this week we'll go back and kind of take a look around. It would have been
June 2020.
2019? It would probably be 2018, I would think. Because it would have been 2018, we would have done it. 2019, 2020, and then 2021 would have been the 3 years. So my guess would have been
right after the Utah Open?
June 18th.
No, because the Utah Open was the very next week. Anyway,
but
I'm just wondering what had happened that prompted us to talk about it. Did somebody make a big putt the weekend before?
I don't know. Well, I'll go back this week at some point and look. I just wanted to bring that up. And just I happened to look at the dates. I was like, oh, I technically still won that by a week.
Yep.
Funny.
Yes, you did.
But anyway.
Give me $50 million.
If I...
So don't you think we should open this live on air and make this the greatest Smashbox exclusive?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
You don't want to know?
No.
You wouldn't want to know.
Not live on TV. Not live on the internet. No.
Because you don't want everyone else to know.
Correct. If the off chance, the rare chance that I even won $1 million. Like, let's say you hit all but the Powerball number.
You don't have to read off the numbers. No, I'm saying to the world you don't have to.
I wouldn't want the world to win. I wouldn't want the world to know I won before I was set to do like things like lawyer and have all of that stuff in place ahead of time. That's just me. And again, I'm not fooling myself. I didn't win. But if this were better odds or something, you don't want people, as cool as it would be for every newscast then to show Smashbox, like, look at this guy who won live on the internet.
Like and an unboxing video, a true reaction video.
And then our podcast blows up to be the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah. And then we buy all the podcasts in the planet.
Yes.
That would be great. All right.
I think if I won, one thing I would do for sure is I would make Skip Ace the best website. Period.
Oh, man.
I would hire a bunch of full-time.
That's enough money to do it.
I think it is. I would sponsor a player. I would find a young player, and I don't know why. I don't know what. Probably with Skip Ace. I'd probably throw Skip Ace on their back or something. But I would pick a young player and just sponsor them, like, whatever that is, like 60, 70, 80 grand a year. Just cool for the next, and sign it like a 5 or 10 year contract. It's not going to be Macbeth money. I ain't making.
Too cheap for that.
Too cheap for that. I mean, Discraft over here. But just in general, I think that could be fun. And I'd probably obviously get land and build a course, or maybe, I don't know. Like the whole land and course thing it seems like a great idea, but I just imagine like upkeep and all this, like hiring someone to do that. That seems like a lot of work for someone who, in general, even if I won the $1 billion, I'm not moving out of my house here. I would not leave this house. I like this house. It's fine. I'd probably do a little bit of work to it, put another 4 or 5 stories on it. But no, I can't imagine moving, even if I won $1 billion. There's no point. I like where I'm at. I like what I do. I would continue to do the podcast too. I would just do it clothed in money.
Yeah.
I would have a money suit. So, but just thinking like, would I move to a place where I could get 50 acres to put 4 or 5 great courses on? Probably not. I don't want to do that. I don't want to uproot my kids, my family, all that other stuff. I can't. So building a course, while it sounds great, I just don't see the logistical, unless I was going to be there.
I was just going to say, I think it comes down to, are you setting up a place that gets built out that's, for lack of a better term, essentially an investment that you can go play golf at whenever you want? Because again, I wouldn't plan on, if I had that much money, or even if I, own that land and that facility, I'm not putting in 20 or 40 or 60 hours of work out on that facility in almost any capacity. Well, I just wouldn't do that. I still probably wouldn't spend that much time. I'd still do other things. But it would be great to know that this facility is running and is operational and is employing people and it's doing all these amazing things. But
maybe I would pull like a Dylan Cease kind of thing in Paul Macbeth, where you buy a thing and put one great course on it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, these are probably problems we're not going to have to worry about.
You're right.
Probably.
Not going to have to
Maybe.
probably worry about it. Well, you definitely don't have anything to worry about because you didn't buy a ticket.
Damn it.
I didn't say I would
give you $10 from
I'm going to pass, Harry.
That would be a legal. Just think if you said yes, I'll take $10. We split it, then it hits, but that's all recorded.
It is all recorded. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why live on air, I'm saying no, Terry Miller.
No. I gave him $10 already, folks. I already did.
You did not give me any money.
Yes. All right. Tim is saying they also showed Macbeth's putt when he did shoot 18 down at D-Glow, but yeah, as we said, that wouldn't have technically been the winning putt. Pro shop on the course. You might have to buy a more secure house. Crazy people coming after you for sure. $700 million is enough to afford a full-time malt making servant.
Ooh, yeah, I could have a malt making guy.
Yeah, that would be a good way to do it. Where would you buy a vacation home? Who's got time? Who vacations? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd buy a vacation. I mean, I assume I would. I can only imagine I'd buy a vacation home with that type of money.
I would have again
a house on a lake somewhere.
They would probably be more so as purely as an investment. A home that I could go to when I'm going to do other things, but not necessarily deeming it vacation. That wouldn't be my.
Would you particularly quit the pro tour? Would you stop going to all the events?
No.
I know you like doing it.
Yeah.
I'd probably go to more events actually. See you later, family.
No, I mean I'd still want to get paid. Don't get me wrong.
How funny is that? Look, Terry's rolling up in his private helicopter, like landing on like a T-pad. Like, hold on, guys, Terry's here. And then at the end of the weekend, you're like, I'll send you my invoice.
Like for my contract work.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know, but no, I would still want to go. I could have my own disc museum. I would, again, on the facility, something would be dedicated, and it wouldn't be just about my disc specifically, but for the right discs and frisbees in general. That would certainly be a no-brainer to do. Watch out, guys, for the Bears this season. I don't know if that's something we have to worry about. I will say this is kind of a quick side note. Somebody else made a reference to it. Again, because that's when Ledgestone typically is. My birthday fell on this last week. During Ledgestone, I look back in my memories. There I am at Ledgestone oftentimes.
Happy 45th birthday to you, Terry.
Yes, thank you. I have now caught Johnny V in age at 45. And I will echo yet again all of the kind things that were said by so many people. And then even for the next day or two, people continued to say happy birthday or happy belated. I appreciate each and every one of you. Ezra Robinson celebrated his birthday the day after my birthday was. His was on the 5th. Yep. There was a spotter I ran into, and I believe he said his name was Mike. His birthday was on Friday on the 4th. He shares a birthday.
Very nice.
He was one of the spotters out there at Northwood, so happy birthday again to you, Mike. We've got a couple good friends, Pat Sattler, Mike Schwieger celebrating birthdays on the 5th. So it was a lot of fun, and I guess maybe that will segue. I didn't even think about it originally, but I will segue. Friday night, there was a fly mart. There's 2 nights of fly marts, both Friday and Saturday at Ledgestone. I had a great time. The only thing that sucks about the timing and the busyness and the length of the course and the length of the night is I think Friday night's fly mart was scheduled from 3 or 4 to like 8 p.m. And it's, bless you, it is literally just down the road from Northwood. I think I got to Northwood at 7:30 or 7:40, like minutes before that, because the round took that long.
Yeah.
Simon Lazat also, who was hoping to be able to sign discs and hang out, he also went in the dunk tank, as did I. All of that taking place, but
Did you get the dunk tank together? That'd have been more
no,
fun.
No, that would have been fun. But all of that taking place, and we're arriving at 7:30, and the and it is what it is. The challenges of being on the lead card, right? Or the the sacrifices. But that was one thing that's a little unfortunate. Is as close as it is, the second you're done and get off the course, when you're already hot and sweaty and gross and everything else, the fly mart is just 2 miles down the road. So, but it's already in shutdown mode. So anyway, I did have dinner with the crew from Great Lakes Disc Golf. I had a dinner with them and with Miles. And then it was shortly after that, Simon had followed up with me and said, "Are we doing the casino? And I want to get you a beer." And I said, "Sure." I don't know how I can turn that down. So ultimately, I met Simon at the casino. We went and had a beer.
Saw Philo there, I believe.
Yeah, we first it was littered with golfers throughout. Earlier in the weekend, already on day one of the tournament already, Hamas and AB were like, "Hey, we didn't see you last night." I'm like, "I know, I saw you guys last year." They had been there. Some of the Discraft guys had been there. Some of the upper management of Discraft had been out there. It's one of the, I don't want to say it's one of the staples, but it's anytime you go to a community with a casino, it just is an easy collection point, right, for a lot of players. And Johnny and I have a casino. I'll drive by one on the way home. So it's not like the concept is new. It's just when it's a little out of the ordinary, it's something unique to do. Some players will go gamble or not. Last year, I remember, I don't even think I put a single dollar down. Had the pleasure of meeting up with Simon. Him and I walked around. We talked strategy about playing blackjack. We had some ups and downs. Emerson Keith sat down and couldn't lose for a while. That was pretty entertaining.
It's got to be nice.
Let me back this up. Simon and I sat down at the table right next to one another. The first 5 hands of blackjack.
The dealer hit blackjack?
No, Simon had 5 effing aces. In
wow.
5 hands, consecutively, he had 5 aces. 2 blackjacks out of those 5.
That's pretty nice.
I don't think I had 5 aces all freaking night. In hours of playing, his first 5 hands consecutively had an ace in it.
Sometimes it's good to be Simon, I guess.
Lucky SOB.
That's his life, right?
Anyway,
just all luck.
So we played a lot of that, had a really good time. Eventually, I got up from the table ahead, and Simon hadn't, and I did get up from the table ahead, and he was shocked, like, "How are you?" I'm like, "That's the trick. You have to leave. You have to have the willpower to get up." And then we ran into Philo and Casey White and some other disc golfers. Tons of other disc golfers were there. It was a really good time. And then we sat down at another table a little later. And I gave back a little bit of my winnings, but still left more than $100 up when it was all
Congratulations.
said and done. So lots of fun. Thank you to Simon. And then we're thinking about closing things down for us. At least I am. Simon is thinking about it as well. And it's about 2 o'clock, 2:30, and we're just about to walk out.
Which is funny because it's 2:30 in the morning, and you need to be up for FPO golf in about 5 hours.
Yeah, well,
and Simon doesn't have to get up early.
Correct. So we're about to walk out, and there's a little cafeteria area, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go to the restroom quickly, and then I'll be ready to walk out." And he's like, "Hey, do you want anything from the cafeteria here?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And, well, unless they have a pretzel. He's like, "They have pretzel bites." I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need anything. I come back out. He's got like this big sandwich thing, and then apparently they gave him pretzel bites as well. He didn't think he ordered them. Apparently he did.
Okay.
Then Simon and I sit down almost like it's date night, and we continue to BS for like another hour about all sorts of disc golf stuff and non-disc golf life. And then, of course, he knows where I have to be and at what time. He doesn't care. And he's like, "Oh, I'll text you when I get up at noon." Like you. So I ended up leaving the casino around 3:30-ish. Very short ride home. And yeah, I was up at 7 to get over to the course for the FPO pregame and FPO stuff.
And was that directly after the round of the social media little blip of Simon looking at you, turning his hat around?
No,
or was that the next day?
So that all happened on Friday night, which was my birthday. Saturday, then we went out to Northwood, and then Saturday.
That was a cute little moment that we
I didn't
caught
know
on
we were
camera.
on camera. Of course, I had no idea. And I was just standing there, and Simon being entertaining as usual.
I think I said 2 or 3 different times when I held cameras on Simon, I think I said, that is why you cannot take a camera off of Simon, ever. If he is anywhere near, he is one of the most entertaining people all the time. and he's just fun. And I will hold shots on Simon way longer than I probably should, just hoping for some sort of reaction, because that's what you get with Simon.
Yeah, he's obviously and I know I got a little gushy about it, but yes, Simon, I'm flattered. Simon's obviously entertaining, and he's kind and he's gracious with everyone. He really is, and I feel honored that he wanted to make it a point that we go and have a birthday beer and spend some time. A lot of fun at the casino all around. So thank you to everyone out there.
I think I heard the FPO field sing "Happy Birthday" to you at one point in a little.
As we closed out at sunset. We were sitting inside, and I had to kind of actually scarf down lunch so that I could get over to the MPO side with all the traveling. And if it was Jen Allen, maybe, or someone had started the charge, and then next thing you know, everyone's singing "Happy Birthday."
I'm going to throw her under the bus, but did your wife do anything special on your birthday for you? Because she messaged me, and I never told you this because it was supposed to be some sort of surprise. She messaged me a couple days prior to that, saying, "Hey, where is Terry going to be on his birthday? I want to do something, see if I can arrange something." And clearly it's very difficult because, A, she doesn't know a lot of people on tour, and she's not around. And I said, I know for a fact, I couldn't remember at that point if you were also on course for FPO. I thought you were, but I said, he will for certain be at Northwood Black in the afternoon. And she was like, okay, thank you. And that's all.
No, that's seemingly as far as it got.
Well, it's the thought that counts, Terry.
Yeah, that's fine. So thank you to everyone is really the long and short of this. Thank you to everyone that reached out on the various platforms in whatever capacity. Johnny put up a pretty funny picture as well on Facebook. So yes, thank you everyone.
I don't know for certain if that's the bar where we got the name from, but it was it was definitely definitely an Arizona bar.
That would have made sense.
And because you could see Gary, between you and the bear was Gary sticking his face through.
Yeah.
But
either way,
I know it was that night. I don't remember if it was that bar.
Lots of things happen out sometimes when you're Anyway. All right. So yes, thank you. That was a really long-winded way to say thank you to everyone out there. Lots of kind, gracious people. And next year, well, I'll probably be in Peoria. One thing as a side note to that is one thing I did distinctly recall is it was 5 years ago on my birthday, of course, that when I had turned 40, that was the day I met Kyle Klein, which kind of dates both Kyle and I a little bit in that sense. He was just 16. And I met him at one of the Next Gen events, and that was taking place in Indiana. I think Ledgestone that year was the week before or after or whatever. But I had met Kyle Klein and his dad, and looked at the budding young star and awesome young adult that he is as well. So
he's a great kid.
I don't know why I'm always working on my birthday. That sounds like a bad idea.
I don't understand people that take off on their birthdays. So
I know. I couldn't imagine. What would I do?
Like you in particular.
I don't want to work.
You in particular, as you're usually traveling, but just even anybody. I know. I don't understand the concept of like, hey, especially if it's a Friday or a Monday, maybe I understand.
You want to extend a weekend.
A weekend, but like I know people that if their birthday's on like a Tuesday, like I'm going to take the day off. I was like,
to do what? Everybody else is working.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? I mean, maybe you go if you're by yourself, you like to fish. Celebrate you. I don't know. I think it's kind of amusing. But Terry, is there anything else in this after show that you brought up? I think if we want to date the broadcast, I showed you right before the round, or right before the broadcast, excuse me, the popular video that's going around right now of the Alabama not to say riot, but the brawl on the dock. If you haven't had a chance, go out and don't necessarily look for the raw footage. Go find some of the funniest commentary that people put over it. I heard one where a gentleman was talking like it was a WWE wrestling match, and they had kind of hypercut some things, and that was pretty funny. I heard another one of a gentleman. I think it was a clip from TikTok that I saw somewhere else because I don't look at TikTok ever. That he was doing commentary on it. It was hilarious. In general, the whole situation is silly, stupid, and sad, but all the extras that come with it are kind of funny, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. To show how deeply, and I know this might sound like a silly excuse, and it's really not, just to show how consuming Ledgestone and the 4 rounds and the rain delays and the this and the that. Like, I didn't hear about any of it until yesterday, because I think it took place Saturday. I didn't hear anything when I was finally maybe flipping through some other socials that just weren't disc golf related, anything about it until yesterday. And then truly, I still didn't even know the true reference. All I heard was like just some reference to it, but had no idea what it was until you showed me just before the show. So, and
there's some great reenactments that people are doing, poolsides and things like that are pretty funny.
Yeah. So I was completely out of touch there for a moment. One other thing that we can touch on briefly that I did see pop up throughout the weekend, some scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt?
Yeah, scuttlebutt, because that's what I say when I'm 45 now. Some scuttlebutt, and definitely some resistance and pushback and negativity and frustrations and maybe some blowing way out of proportion. It was announced this week that our friends at UDisc are going to increase the price of their application.
So a few years ago, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, you actually got a UDisc Pro with your PDGA membership.
Okay.
And then, or I believe it was like $5.99 a year. And then a couple years ago, 3 years ago, they bumped it up to $15.99 a year. So they tripled the price. Now they're only doubling the price from $15.99 to, I believe, $29.99. So it's going to be $30 a year.
Annual.
A year, correct, annual. And for the record, I looked at my UDisc. The last time I scored a round was 2022 on my phone.
Yeah, which just shows how much you play.
I play very little. But when I do play, usually one of our friends happens to have UDisc. Our buddy Johnny Rumble, who I tend to go out with if I go out, Steve Held has it. They tend to score, and then they'll just send me a scorecard. I'm not so caring about my stats. I will still pay the $30 every year for a UDisc Pro subscription, and I don't use the scoring apps. I use a little bit of the maps if I need to. Every once in a while, if I'm like when we were on vacation, I used it to find the nearest courses, even though I knew I wasn't going to go. I still wanted to find the nearest course. I was like, I wonder what the nearest course is. I looked when I was in Allenton. I was like, where is Nakamixon from here? I didn't want to play it because it's a brutal course. And I guess right now it's actually being redone, and they're trying to bring it back because it got very overgrown, is my understanding. But I did that. I will still pay for UDisc because, me personally, while some people are asking $15 to $30 increase, there's some people that are out there asking, well, am I getting twice the features for it now? Is it twice as good? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is was it underpriced before? And now they're catching up. And it's hard. It's a hard judgment call for every person to make. Like, again, $30 a year to somebody is a lot more of your discretionary disc golf income than probably $30 to somebody else. I get that. I've said, we've had people, our Patreon supporters, who have reached out and said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop being a Patreon supporter because financial times have hit me different. And I always say, that's awesome. This is clearly discretionary income. We always appreciate every one of our patrons, but if you cannot afford to do it, I get it. I understand. I would never judge anybody for that. I would never judge anybody if they don't feel like they're getting the value or can't afford the value of UDisc. I think it's a great app. I think that I really like the guys who run it. I think it's a very good company. I know they're working on a lot of features. They always are. And I think they've got 2 more big updates left on their roadmap for this year, is what I saw posted earlier in the year. But don't quote me on that. Programming is always different and things get pushed back. But what I'll say, I looked at and linked traditional golf scoring apps and stat keeping. And they range anywhere from $5 a year to $50 a year. Sometimes the same app has different levels depending on what you're doing. I don't feel like $30 a year is outrageous. I don't feel like it is a crazy thing. And now they still have the free tier where you can look at the last 10 scorecards. Now, before, my understanding is you would get 10 scorecards and then you could not make another scorecard if you were on the free version. It would just stop. You would have to go and delete your scorecards. Now it will let you continue to make scorecards, but it will only show you the last 10. So your stats still stay hidden from you, but you get to view the last 10. Again, everybody's different. I'm a fan of UDisc. I'm a fan of the guys that run it, and a fan of the company and the people that work there. So I'm going to keep paying, even though I rarely use it. They could probably look at my logins and be like, "Dude, you haven't logged in." And I think I probably logged in 3 times or 4 times this year.
Yeah, and I pretty much agree with everything you just said. And then what I would tack on if I'm really being dramatic, is to me, it's similar to what I've said in terms of where I want to throw my support and what it means to me. And like you said, it's different for every single person. You may be looking for that return on your dollar and your what you need. And for me, what I've always said, and this is going to sound silly to some of you, but if you're new here, maybe you're hearing it for the first time. If I lost both of my arms and legs tomorrow, I would renew my PDGA membership probably every year until the day I die. I personally just want to give that support. And you can attach whatever names you want along with that, and that's fine. I don't really care. I'm just saying, like, when I want to support something, there's a lot of things we do that don't necessarily make an investment sense or don't have that return that others see, and that's fine.
Disc Golf Stream is another situation. I feel the same way. They are a competing live broadcast service to the DGBT. I'm a contractor for DGBT. I love the guys at DGBT. But you know what? I also feel that I want to support live disc golf. And these are European broadcasts, of which I'm lucky to catch. If they film 30 to, we'll say 40 rounds this year, I might watch a total of 2.5, maybe 3 when I put it on in the background and I'm working, because a lot of that stuff is happening when I'm sleeping. I'm not getting up for that as much as just because I want to support them. I think having competition is very good in our marketplace. So having DGPT and Disc Golf Stream to push each other is a good solution. I will continue to pay for that. Now, all cards on the table. This couple months ago, they supported Skip Ace, and they sent me and you a 1-year free subscription, which I did send that to you. So I paid for it in the past. This upcoming year, very thankful that it is on them, so I will have it. I also gave away a few of them for Skip Ace, but I have paid for that the past year. So that's another instance where I will support companies that I want to see flourish, just like you, PDGA. If I never work for the Disc Golf Pro Tour again after yesterday, which I will, but I would still have a Disc Golf Pro Tour membership. I would still have the DGN because I like disc golf and I like the company and I want to support the people that are there.
Yeah, and I
get it. It's a big price increase. $15 a year is a large price increase when you look at the percentage. Yeah,
and I'm not dismissing somebody else questioning it. I'm not dismissing and saying, oh, you're crazy for questioning it or you're crazy for not wanting to do it. As Johnny said, how you want to spend that, how you want to spend your money, I'm not second guessing. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from in terms of the ways that I want to throw support. Interestingly enough, I said to Hannah Macbeth this weekend at one point, she said something about buying one of her party podcast hats. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I love Hannah Macbeth. I love Christine Jennings. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I said, I intentionally do not go out of my way to buy any single player's merchandise. Not because I don't like them or don't support them. I don't want this perceived favoritism and me wearing even a Simon Lizotte, who's one of the kindest, most gracious guys. I just personally don't want to. Of course I love Simon. I love most of our pros, almost all of them. I don't buy any of their specific merch in some certain scenarios.
You do buy the discs though.
Well, and that's
because you're a collector.
Yeah, I may buy some of their discs, but I guess to your point, oftentimes if I'll just use Innova as an example, they come out with a Tour Series disc for so-and-so, I'll go out and I'll buy 5 of everyone's Tour Series discs, more so to collect them and to have them more instead than
for the support
as a support. And it happens to support them, which is great, but I'm doing that more as a disc collector. So then again, I'm flipping all this on my head when I say, like, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I remember going to the Dynamic Disc Open, which was the GBO at the time. So it was even longer than that. And I remember I said to myself as I walked through the block party, which now would break me.
Yeah.
I walked through the block party and I said in my own head, I said, every single pro that's here that has a custom stamped disc, I will buy one from. It was just one weird thing I did that night. And I found the bag of them actually just a few weeks ago in storage. And every single pro that had them there. Now, mind you, that was also 20, 30, 40 less players than we have today that have a custom disc that could potentially have set them up. I think I bought 20-ish or so that night, but I paid full price. Intentionally, I remember a few of them wanted to give me a discount. Said, no, charge me full price. And that was something I did that particular night. I'll probably never...
You were probably drinking.
No.
At the block party.
No. And it did not start or finish at the Bourbon Cowboy either. My point is, I did that, but I intentionally do not go out and buy any of their merch because I don't want this perceived, So again, we all doing these different things for different reasons. I often don't understand why people buy like some of the random support things they do, but everybody wants to spend their money in their own ways.
Yep.
So, and anyway. I saw Terry that you're at the GBO's block party, and he can confirm this is true. Yeah. So,
and there is another disc golf option for scoring if you want to keep it. It's Disc Golf Metrics,
which I've used. I have an account. I was literally on it today, which is a whole nother story.
That's weird. I do have an account. I haven't used it in probably many years. I actually never use it to keep score. I think I created an account back in the day. When they were doing the USDGC and they had the links to the Instagram. Yep. I believe I created an account, but I never really used the app for anything other than.
Well,
you could use it to keep your score and stuff, but I never did that.
Yeah. The little I remember, because I just posted on the board how I not only logged in today. I don't want to say they're the UDisc of international golf, but that would be one way you could really oversimplify it.
They used to be. UDisc is now moving into the...
No, but because there's still events on Disc Golf Metrics that aren't listed in other places.
Yeah.
Which is another story for another day and another update in a few weeks I'll have for you guys. But there's other events that are listed there that you can't find on Disc Golf Scene, that aren't listed on the PDGA, that aren't listed on UDisc. So they have their own... It's kind of a mixture between like a UDisc and a Disc Golf Scene. They're kind of a mixture between those two. And I had set up an account when I was first introduced to it, which was when I was in Australia in 2018, is when I set up an account because that was their live scoring mechanism back then. And now we've seen the PDGA has live scoring. And so some people may, if you largely only play PDGA events, that may be the place to do it.
And to be fair, I don't know if Metrics keeps individual scores. I know they do tournament scores and keep those statistics. I don't know if they're
you can.
Okay, it does do the individual. I haven't logged into it in a long time.
Correct. There's a ton of different stuff you can do, and like I said, just finding
course stuff.
As even just clicking on.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're offended by UDisc or you hate the price of it or you don't like their politics or whatever your silly reason is, there is Disc Golf Metrics.
Yeah. Or
support them too.
As Spock says out on the board, you could just log it all on a spreadsheet.
Google Sheets.
Do that.
Free. Yeah,
and then get out your flip phone and start entering them.
Flip phones are hot again. Except the flip phones now have screens on the front, like full colored screens.
Flip phones, like they're
true flip phones, but they have like a full smart screen on the front, and then you open it up and there's a full.
So they don't operate like the old school.
I mean, it's a flip phone.
So, but I'm saying, you don't have to key through all of the.
Oh no, there's not like a keyboard. It's a smartphone. It's a flip smartphone.
Anyway.
So imagine taking your iPhone and just folding it in half.
Yeah.
So there. Yeah.
Plenty of options out there, and if you want to design your own, go ahead and
please do it.
Let's put this to bed. But my final point on it would be, people by 10,000-fold underestimate what's behind the scenes to make UDisc work. I think 99% of the planet way under estimates. No, I don't. What's the word I'm looking for? Not under and undervalues. Has any clue?
Underestimates would be a good one.
Any clue, like what it takes to make UDisc the app that it is today? I think far too many people are like, oh yeah, that's just easily repeatable, and we're just going to go out and design that, and that will cost us nothing, and that'll be no big deal. That's all I'll say about that. Here's my warning. I'm not saying people can't create competitive, or similar or competitive devices or apps. Go for it. Everyone's an entrepreneur. I'm all for that. I'm not suggesting that it can't be done. I'm just telling you, I think most of the planet that uses and has seen UDisc has absolutely no idea the development that's gone into that over the last 10 plus years. That's what I'll say to that. So if you're going to do it, good luck.
One of my favorite little memories is the very first Pro Tour event, Maple Hill, sitting next to Josh and watching him melt down as his servers melted down, having him spin up server after server, and because they were brand new. This was the first time they had really run a Pro Tour event, and their system, I think they had 6 servers or something at the time, maybe 6 or 8, and they were just crashing. One, and he'd bring up another one, it would crash because they were getting so much traffic, and I'm going to put so much in quotes, considering it's probably 1/1000th of what they get now, that it was bringing down their system. And I remember him like, I have to rewrite this. I have to fix this in order to not stop it from crashing, because certain things we're doing, they've learned so much since then. And I have an affinity for that, because he was there at the beginning next to me as we were doing our first Pro Tour broadcast. It wasn't our first broadcast, it was our first Pro Tour broadcast. So I always have that little affinity for Josh and UDisc in general. And Matt's a great guy too.
Yeah, well, let's not go too far.
I don't like Steve Hill.
I was just going to say, don't even get me started. Anyway, so
all right, I give Steve Hill a little credit. He likes pinball like me.
We are no way paid or endorsed here by UDisc whatsoever. But yes, as Johnny said,
they don't have to with the way we talk about him.
Yeah,
Jeez.
We certainly appreciate their efforts. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I was trying to think of some other way you could do scores in some old school fashion.
I keep all my paper scorecards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then just scan those, run like
an OCR,
yep. Right? Yep. Some optical character recognition.
Nailed it.
Scan those, create a cool little PDF book. And there's a lot of ways you guys can do this.
There's a lot of ways you can do it.
That's why I have an IS degree.
You do.
So that was the topic of conversation. Do with it as you will. I don't know if I have anything else outside of completely sideways current pop culture news. Apparently, Taylor Swift is announcing tour dates for next year, and millions, this is why it's relevant, millions of people are getting on some list to maybe be included in some pre-sale. So if that is overtaking your child or grandchild, or
I'm going to have to look,
or a conversation, it's very much up. One of my daughters had submitted. She is on a list to maybe be able to buy tickets come Friday. The other daughter didn't get the same email.
Is it Chicago or is it Milwaukee?
No, neither. We're talking about Indianapolis in November of 2024.
Wow.
We are that far out, and this is not unique to my couple of kids. We're talking about this is sweeping the nation, and so if you're wondering what the T Swift hubbub is, that's part of it right now.
I would not travel that far to go T Swift. If she came to Milwaukee, I would.
I don't think it'd contain her, but yeah.
I mean, it's only as big as that you sell tickets for. If she went to the arena, the Bucks arena.
How many does that hold?
I don't know, 40,000. I mean, it's hosted Metallica, it's hosted Foo Fighters, it's hosted like some of the biggest names.
They're not T Swift.
You're right. They're not. She is the biggest star in the world. But you could do that. Now, I don't know if she would. I would try to buy tickets. I wouldn't go out of my way to like wait online for 10 hours or something. But if
and that's what I think part of this is.
Yeah, I would not do that. But if I could get tickets at face value somehow, I would do that. Because I think it'd be a fun show, and I'm not a Swiftie. I literally can't name one Taylor Swift song. No, Shake It Off. I can name Shake It Off. I can name one Taylor Swift song off the top of my head. I'm sure I know more of them if I heard them.
Yeah.
But that's the only one that I can name. But I think that it would be a fun concert.
I think that was just another post. My daughters are updating me. Of course, my daughters who are 12 and 14, almost 15. They were just telling me though how Flavor Flav was. He apparently goes to the concerts. I know Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, tons of celebrities are going in whatever.
I mean, part of it is probably a social cred thing, or like
100%.
just even if you're not a Taylor Swift fan, going there to be part of and to be seen at one of the biggest events in the world. It's like when some people go to the Super Bowl. They might not be football fans, but they're still going.
Exactly. Well, Flavor Flav is apparently a regular at some of these.
Good for him.
Maybe he's looking for, a mate that, maybe some young fan's mother or grandmother, who knows?
A new clock?
Maybe he just loves, maybe he
might just love Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
She's a great artist.
But, anyway, it's pretty funny that he's frequently spotted. So I'm hoping, for what you were just saying, though, I'm hoping that this is somehow is mitigating some of that madness of like there's waves and maybe pockets of time, so that there's like only invites to a certain amount of people, because it's insane out there. Best of luck to all of you parents or any of you that are in T Swift land or the madness. Glenn says Aaron Rodgers will be in town tomorrow to scrimmage with the Panthers.
So he'll play a series or maybe a set of downs, and that's it, because I don't imagine that he's going to be playing very much in the preseason. He'll play probably one series the first game. The second game he'll probably play 2 to 3 series, and he won't play at all in the third game, and then he'll play a series maybe in the fourth game. But the Jets don't want to risk him getting hurt on something stupid. He's old now.
Yeah, he is.
He's past his prime. He's washed up, used.
And that's why he had to. That's why he took a pay cut to go play there. Something like that.
I'm not jealous. You're jealous.
Oh, speaking of throwing around support and spending money, my 14-year-old, who I just was referencing, is trying to go to London next year. So, do you think having some disc as a fundraiser is worth her time?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's what we were contemplating today. Unless I get like
it would have to be
color glow Firebird, Sexton Firebird.
Buy a bunch of Sexton Firebirds, wipe the logo, and stamp her logo on them.
Damn it.
And then you can tell everyone these are Sexton Firebirds, but they just don't have the logo. I'm sure, my daughter put her logo on it, and
that's a good idea. Yeah, we're trying to think of clever ways. Of course.
I mean, it's a great idea to raise money. I just don't see why, other than Smashies, who might maybe buy a handful of them, why anyone would want to buy a fundraising disc for an individual person. Now, again, you'd sell a few of them. I just don't know what that right number. Do you order 20 of them? Do you order 50 of them?
Yeah.
And
I'm just trying to think of ways that I could
help out. Yeah,
help out, and she'd be willing to do, the lion's share of the work in order to make it happen. And obviously, she plays occasionally and such. So I'm not sure. And I partially bring that up because I know everyone's asking. Here's what I'm going to say about the Sexton Firebirds. My understanding is that there will still be a wave of official Sexton Firebirds that were not the April Fool's Firebirds, and I know
because there hasn't been any this year.
There were some
the April Fools, and then there was
one,
the Vegas ones.
But there's plenty of people that continue to second guess if we're going to see any more or not.
We will. There's no way that's a cash cow. There's no way they're not gonna throw 5,000 of those things out there in the next month or so.
The challenge becomes, because we still haven't seen them.
It's coming.
Everyone's patience is wearing thin, and or it's just the questioning of if they're really going to happen or not.
They'll happen before September. That's my guess. That's 3 weeks.
I don't know if I'd make that bet.
I think they will. I think they'll happen.
They might. But anyway, the point is, my unofficial word is that you will see some release.
I don't have an unofficial.
You can buy them after I buy as many
word.
as I need. Then I want you to get yours.
But there's no way. That's a cash cow for Innova and Nate that I can't imagine they would not have a set of them. It's got to be in his contract, for crying out loud, that he gets X amount of regular glow Sexton Firebirds that are special, and he has hand licked every one. I don't know what they do to make them so special, but everybody loves them. So there's no way they're not doing that.
Dan Hartbeck says, my niece, 13 years old, has seen Taylor Swift a couple of times. Oh, a couple of weeks ago. Okay, I was going to say, damn.
Her first concert.
Her first concert. Wow. Yeah. That. So you may or may not understand all of that madness. It's insane. I want to try the Alien in Champion Glow if they make it. Yeah, there is. I did see something.
The new Innova Alien.
Yeah, and I felt one at Pro Masters Worlds. It feels weird.
What does it? Why is it weird? Is it kind of like the method, or was it the method that's got like the funky angle?
It does, and did I say to Chris Brophy, who had them out? I feel like I said it feels like a Mako and a Sonic.
Like, that's right. It's
had
got
a baby.
Okay.
Like a Mako and a Sonic, if I recall. It was a weird, unique feeling disc.
It's out of this world, says Glenn.
Hey-o. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, is it their attempt to kind of have a glitch?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Like just a throwing, because that's kind of what the Sonic is to me. It's like kind of like a glitch. I know they're not the exact same, but a throwing disc that you know.
No, I would not say it's the answer.
Okay.
An answer to that. Have you guys ever bought a disc from Walmart?
I'm sure I have. I must have.
I've never bought.
I don't know if I bought it from Walmart, but I know I bought one from Dick's Sporting Goods at one point.
I have not.
I think I found one and I bought it, and I was on the road somewhere.
No, I have never.
Not Walmart, though.
I've never bought one from there. Carney says a 4-speed Sonic. Okay. Next year would be year 10 of the Sexton Firebirds. That might be the last run. I doubt it.
As long as people buy them, they will sell them.
I think there's so much money tied up in those, and I'm not even talking about the aftermarket. I'm just talking about, as Johnny was alluding to, for both Sexton and Innova. I think it's going to be a while before those things have officially run their course.
And I don't blame them. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Tim says, I bought my first disc from Kmart, a 165-gram Whammo in 1985. Okay. So it was a Frisbee, so to speak. But, I could see that. Oh, R.I.P. Kmart. Those all bought out by Sears now, officially?
Probably, and closed down. I think there are very few Kmarts left.
I don't know if there's any Kmarts left in the country. Huh. Wasn't the 2015 the first year of the Sexton? Yes, the 2015 Sexton was the first year. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
That would be the 10-year.
Little hubbub over the 10-year, 20-year buzzes that they had a different release that were at Ledgestone this year. There was a black, largely basically a midnight black one with various foils, and then some UV ones. Those were also pretty limited in, I think they were letting people get 2. They were sold some at the Fly Mart on Saturday, also some at the Fly Mart on Friday. And then the other thing, one of the other bigger notes from the Ledgestone event this weekend were some tie-dyed and fly-dyed Z Lunas. And those also were a relatively popular item as well. I managed to snatch up a few of those, which may or may not some have been sold. And while I'm on the topic of selling discs and Frisbees and protecting your disc when you sell them, I'm already bringing a large quantity of my disc in a box shippers. However, if you are in the Idlewild event area and you want boxes and you want to save a few dollars, on me handing them to you. I'm already bringing upwards of 1,000 that are spoken for. If I need to bring more, I will. So make sure you reach out to me via the socials, and I could save you like $20-25 per 100.
Okay.
Because I'm already bringing them.
Somebody asked on the board, and I don't even think I know this answer. Where did you buy your first disc from?
Mine came from EJ Sports.
Me too. In Appleton.
In Appleton.
It was mostly a hockey. It was known for its hockey equipment and rollerblading equipment. That's where I also bought my first pair of rollerblades. But it also had golf discs, and so that was where I bought mine as well.
They were the only ones in the Fox cities in the Appleton area that sold discs regularly. I don't, and then I think eventually one or more of I think there might only been one at the time. A Play It Again Sports probably also had picked it up, but EJ Sports Arena or whatever they were called, EJ.
ENJ?
No, EJ.
It was EJ.
I think it was just EJ. Yeah. So that's where most of our discs were bought, and then eventually we started. Well, very soon after that, we both started playing various tournaments. Then you could also get them at
every
the actual
event.
Tournament.
Yeah, somebody was selling them.
All right, guys. Well, we started early, and we're gonna end it at a reasonable time, nonetheless.
It's a normal length of a show.
Okay, that sounds about right. Sapphire from Ace Hardware, Diamax, love it. But my first, okay. I think we're all caught up. Oh, we didn't do a giveaway.
Oh, geez. No, I'm not ready. I didn't have anything set. I totally forgot.
Well, Glenn, I swear I said that before I saw it pop up on there. I felt like we weren't doing something.
You're right. We totally missed that. Like, Terry, if you could fill a little bit of time. I know it's hard.
I'm going to read from Dan Harbeck, one of our smashies out there and big-time supporters. Says, I bought my first disc in 1988 at a liquor store. It was an AVR. Sounds about right. 88. That surprises me, Dan, that your first disc was in 88. I would have thought it would have even been a little bit sooner. What's your PDGA number? Like 5932 or something like that? And I'm gonna dox you PDGA style. I think it's 50 something. 5892. Damn. Not too far off. To go straight up off of memory. 5894 is your PDGA number. So 58, and you bought it in 88. Okay. I would for some reason I would have guessed you were even prior to 1988 for your first disc. People jumping in and helping out. Yeah. DJ's Mini Mart. And I learned of DJ's Mini Mart not too long ago as we were wrapping up USDGC last year. Was it DJ himself that I met? Are we talking out of Oklahoma? Is that what we're talking about? I feel like that was the case. Yeah, I'd put it in the chat where you guys bought your first disc and the year. That's what I would love to know.
I don't remember. I think for my first year, it would have been 1994. Because I would have been a sophomore in high school in 94 when my friends were starting to play. I think I bought one of the old Grid AVRs and I think it was like a Typhoon. No, Eclipse. It was Eclipse.
Yeah,
it was Eclipse I bought.
Yeah, and mine, I believe mine would have been 93. I feel like, because I believe I was introduced to it 7th or 8th grade camp. So yeah, it would have been probably 93. Somewhere I'm sure I have it somewhat documented in some official capacity, but I want to say 93. And the Lynx was my first one, and some of my other early discs, because I remember my senior picture had every disc I owned. I'm literally have my arm on a pedestal.
I have it somewhere
with of my senior picture, and we had a couple different styles. You had like the official formal one, and then you had the slightly more fun. All the basketball and football players would bring in their letter jackets and bring in the basketball or football or volleyball or whatever. And I opted to bring my discs, and every single disc I owned, and if I think about it, I think there was like 22 discs. Like that was literally every disc. And it's funny, even if I zoomed in on the picture today, which I have somewhere, not only do I think I have probably every one of those still from from that senior picture, but I could probably almost name every one of them from looking at that stack. And on the bottom was, of course, going to be the Lynx, because that was a 200-gram monster disc. So yeah, that was back when I would putt with sometimes putt and approach with hammers. I also used a lot of XDs as kind of a putt and approach. I had a Throw and Glow AVR putter. I had some Cyclones in there. The Cyclone had just come out not long before that. I know I had you had an Eclipse. I had and Paul had an Eclipse. I had the Tracer. Which
I had a Tracer as well.
To this day, I still don't know if I could tell the difference hardly between the Eclipse and the Tracer. So yeah, if I went and looked at that stack of discs in my senior picture, which I'm sure it's been on the socials. It'll get back out there around. It's like somebody had a senior picture, somebody very notable, high profile of our golfers, like a Kyle Klein type, not that long ago released. And
a senior picture of Kyle Klein, that's stupid, because it's like, just take a picture of him now.
Well, I'm just saying somebody not that long ago, and it wasn't Kyle, but it was somebody like Kyle, who's a younger superstar, had a senior picture and had discs in it, and people were commenting. I'm like, I did that in 1995.
Yeah, you did.
So, just saying.
Nerd.
Yes.
100.
Very true at the time.
136 people are eligible for our giveaway tonight. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV if you want to help support our podcast. And the only way we support our podcast is with your wonderful support. And thanks to you, we can continue to do this. Without you, this would be a lot less enjoyable. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV for as little as $1 a month. But we prefer if you give us more, because we love you the more you give us.
Yeah, and Johnny isn't sharing his winnings.
That's true. That's the other reason I'm not going to open the winning ticket live, because I would hate for someone to be like, well, now you guys don't need my Patreon support. So that's why I'm not going to show you my winning $1.55 billion lottery ticket. So thank you very much.
Do you know what the numbers are on your ticket?
No, I didn't look at them. I bought them and put them in my wallet.
Oh.
I didn't even look at the numbers.
I'm going to look at what the winning numbers are.
All right. So, but you know what? We're going to draw a winning number tonight.
Yeah, we are.
Terry,
let's draw number. No, let's just read these off. Let's draw. None of these. See, I feel better, because if I were to pick, just like when I play roulette, I play very specific numbers. If I were to pick numbers, I literally would have picked 0 of these numbers. So I'm glad I saved the money by not going to the gas station and picking my own.
If I were to pick numbers, which I buy a ticket probably once a year, if that, even a lottery ticket. The Powerball I usually go with is 3 or 20, because my birthday is March 20th.
Yeah.
And I think in the last year or two, I've looked, and the Powerball has been one of those numbers when I happen to catch the winning number, only when it's huge, because I don't pay attention any other time. Once I was like, oh, that's the Powerball number I usually pick. So anyway.
All right. Well, you know what? Hey, August 4th was my birthday, and we're just gonna keep that. So the fourth number.
The fourth number for August 4th. Happy, not your 40. Not doing 45. We're just gonna do 4, which is in 45. So we're gonna do 4. So the very first number we're drawing is 46. The second number is 17. The third number is 26, and our fourth number.
Be a 4.
I hope it's 45. I hope it's 45. But our fourth number we draw is 58, Terry's actual age. 58. I sorted it by first name, because I was in a very big hurry, because I forgot to do it before. So 58 is James Blanton. James Blanton, congratulations.
That sounds like a newer name.
Yeah. He's at $1 level. Thank you, James. Much appreciated. We will reach out to you. I will give your email address to Terry. He'll reach out and get everything, and we can make sure that you get your disc that we get. One of Terry's new black buzzes that he just got. One of the 20-year buzzes, right, Terry?
No.
Okay. So no, that is not going to be what you get. You'll get something else that'll be awesome, though.
Yes, we will find something to give you. I won't let it get political, but making jokes in the comments. All right. Awesome. Oh, real quick. I just only because I saw him and definitely remembered, and I know I shouted out a few of our other Smashies. Jeremy Davis, I saw him out at the Play with the Pros this weekend.
Oh, that's
and he
awesome.
said, hey, you just sent me a disc.
We did.
I know. And he said,
why didn't you just give it to him?
Because I didn't know.
Could have saved
I didn't
money,
know I was going to
Terry.
see him there.
You should just carry all the discs in case you see people.
Exactly. I sent him his disc a couple weeks ago, and he said, hey, I'm a Smashy, and I just received the disc you sent me. And then he played in the...
Did he use that disc?
No.
Oh, jerk.
No, but it was awesome seeing him.
Thank
yet
you.
Again.
Thank you, Jeremy. Much appreciated for your Patreon support. I'm glad that we could get you that disc, and I'm glad you got to play with the pros.
Yeah, that was a whole nother awesome experience as well. So, Tim, yes, I look forward to seeing you this weekend. Tim, if you're bored and you're thinking, I'd love front row action, I've got a backpack for you. You could put on and you could walk with me, and you could wear.
It's called Walk with the Pro.
Commentator.
Yeah, so the pro commentator. We leave off that last part, and you don't usually get to watch a lot of people tap in. You have to walk.
Yep.
You get to leave, but you get to leave right away.
Yeah,
you get to watch him drive,
and you're tethered to me, and I usually
literally tethered to Terry.
So if that interests you, or if you know somebody else that would like to do
I'm
that.
financially and morally tethered to Terry. You could be physically tethered to Terry.
It doesn't. What more could you ask for? Spotting on hole 16. That is a lame excuse, and you're not going to have fun doing that. That is a long, hot, wide open hole. You're going to have so much more fun tethered to me, I promise. I promise you.
Those words have never been said.
But
You'll have more fun tethered to me.
Because if you're only spotting for part of the day, that means you have the other part of the day to see the other 17 holes. All right. Doesn't sound like I can convince you. One more time, thank you, Cole Redalen. Congratulations, of course, to Missy Gannon. Hats off to the Disc Golf Pro Tour and Disc Golf Network for pulling off the feat of being able to broadcast and be part of the Northwood Black and the Northwood course. And then, of course, hats off to the Ledgestone crew for also making that all possible. And everyone, all hands on deck, everyone out there just busting their ass this weekend. A 4-round Elite Plus event, plus all the sponsors and the money and the stuff that went along with it. Congrats to everyone that was there. And the other 2,200 other players that were also at the Ledgestone event. I didn't forget about you, Brian Schweberger, taking down the MP40 and picking up another win. Win 3,472. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's Smashbox TV's podcast 466's After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.